Turn it up, it's talking wrestling time. Pond Water and Amy, partners in crime. Dropping facts with laughs and trivia too. Pro wrestling tales coming straight to you. Stories wild and questions quick. Amy and Dave with the perfect kick. Tune in every week, don't miss the ride. Wrestling knowledge served with pride. Talking wrestling, it's a wild ride. Dave and Amy kicking ass on the wild side. Grab a chair and join the spree. It's all about the wrestling fantasy. They rant, they rave, they won't behave. Wrestling fans, come out your cave. It's time to party and misbehave. Talking wrestling, time to go. Ring the bell and start the show. They rant, they rave, they won't behave. Wrestling fans, come out your cave. It's time to party and misbehave. Talking wrestling, time to go. Ring the bell and start the show.
Hello and welcome in for another episode of Talking Wrestling with Pond Water and Amy. I'm Pond Water, so guess that makes her the first lady of the Arn Anderson fan club, Miss Amy Vaughn. Amy, how are you?
You know, I'm doing pretty good, but we are kind of in a lockdown due to the weather.
Oh,
I work from home. Kids didn't go to school. You know, it's here in Kentucky when the weather hits, everybody just likes to, you know, retreat back into their homes. So kids are out of school tomorrow too. So
it's cold here.
mm,
It was starting to snow when I got off work, but I don't know if it's going to be cold enough. I mean, it's going to get cold.
yeah,
If we get anything overnight, because it's going to be in the 20s most of the day tomorrow. But that wind was disrespecting my jacket today, something fierce.
I bet. Do you ever get does the weather ever, does your company ever say, you know, it's too cold
Yeah,
for y'all to be out?
If there's ice on the road, they won't let us drive.
Okay.
Not
That's
because,
good.
trust me, it's because they don't want to get sued if we hit somebody. It has
That's
nothing
very
to do.
true.
I mean, we do care about safety, but
You're right.
Yeah.
If it's windy and icy and you've got that big old truck, I mean, yeah, you're liable to.
They'll say you can't work today.
Mhm.
Well, okay. Are we going to get credit for because we get service? Our metrics. Our metrics are service and sales.
Right.
So okay, so we're going to get credit for service. Are y'all going to allow for our sales for the day? Because if I call out and I take a sick day, I get 100% of my sales for the day. I get 100% service. So we learned the last ice storm that we couldn't get a straight answer.
Mm.
So if they say you can't work, I was like, I'm sick because
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't want to have to make it up on Saturday. And
Right. Do you accumulate like sick days, like every paycheck? Do you like half a sick day, or how do you get automatically?
no, they give us 10 a year.
Oh, they give you 10 a year.
But after 5, there's going to be some paperwork. You better have excuses. I mean, they're making sure it's legit. But it's 10 in a year. I don't think it's calendar year. Like if I don't, it's 365 days.
I gotcha. So they would much rather you just like if you were sick, you could make it up on a
Darren
Saturday.
Staley. Oh, I could go in on Saturday if I wanted to.
Okay.
But I mean, the damage is done.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, I think if you tell me, if you tell me I got to stay home, you need to take care of me, sales and service.
Exactly.
But Heather Whitley, Terry Weaver's rolling with us. Glad y'all are with us tonight. Darren Staley, of course. I'm here. I'm effing. Get used to it. I love it. Oh, Heather Whitley says we're getting snow and we never get snow. Our city doesn't even have a snow plow.
Oh man.
I'm thinking Heather lives in the South Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken.
I was thinking Mobile. Oh, Finley, my little niece says hello. Hi, Finley.
What's up, Finley? I said hi.
And Dave says hi too.
Well,
Mary is also home. Virginia Beach. Oh, we're way off. Uh,
wow.
Mary,
Why did I
Mary,
think she was in South Louisiana? I know.
whoops. I thought she was, I was putting her in Mobile. So we knew it
I,
was around water, nice
hey,
weather.
I knew what country she lived in. Okay. I had it narrowed down to 50. Okay.
That's a 50. But
51 if you count Canada.
I
Oh,
do, Mary, my sister's a teacher, so she also had to work from home today. And my niece and nephew Ross and Finley are watching. I told Mary that we would be on tonight to help entertain
well, I'm
the
glad you let
littles.
me know. I'll try to watch my language.
Oh, yes, yes. Ross and Finley, they do not need to learn any new words. Hi, Ross. Hi, Finley.
Hi,
I
Ross.
miss
Hi,
you
Finley.
all.
Oh, I'm proud they're here to step all over my
Yes.
Matthew to Chuck story.
I'll tell. Mary can text me if they get
We're
bored
kidding.
and walk away. Well, that way you have a chance to tell it. No.
Change my name to Pawpaw Dave today because we're going to
Exactly.
be kid friendly. Right off the bat, I don't know if y'all can tell, I'm wearing a Central Hines basketball sweatshirt tonight because my granddaughter plays JV and varsity for the Central Hines Lady Cougars, and the varsity this past Saturday captured for the second year in a row, first year from my granddaughter, the 4A state championship by defeating Washington School 38-22.
Awesome. That is so awesome.
And the boys varsity beat Greenville Christian 39-33 to capture the men's the boys 4A state championship.
So the one school has the boys and the girls?
Boys and the girls.
Awesome.
Moved on to overall, which is all the divisions
Okay.
in a tournament.
Okay.
And they won yesterday 66 to 22, I think.
That's
They kicked
pretty,
the cowboy crap out of them, and
I was going to say that
they
seems
advanced past the
pretty-
first round, and they'll play next Monday at 7:45. So it's real proud of those girls. They all play real hard. Got 6 seniors on the team, so there's going to be a lot of fall off after this year.
No kidding. Well, congratulations to them. That's awesome.
And congratulations to the NHL, the National Hockey League. They got it figured out that the NBA weekend, the All-Star game, they don't play defense, they don't play offense. It's a joke. It's not competitive at all. NFL's playing flag football.
Yes.
The NHL creates a tournament between 4 countries.
Mm-hmm.
And the U.S. team played Team Canada.
Right.
And our friends to the north decided that they would boo, even though the announcer said, hey, let's don't boo during the national anthem. Let's be respectful. If you've ever been to a hockey game, like I'm a Dallas Stars fan, we all know that. I'm a Dallas Stars fan. I've been to a lot of hockey games where we played teams from Canada, be it Toronto, be it Vancouver, be it back in the day, Winnipeg, Montreal. When we play them, we play "O Canada." Somebody sings "O Canada," and then they do the national anthem. And we're all real respectful of the national anthem. Hockey's a very respectful game, believe it or not. Even though they fight, but at the end of a playoff series, it's called handshake night because they line up like the kids do, and they skate and they shake hands with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once it's over, it's over.
Right.
So the Canadian fans, due to the current political climate, decide that they're going to boo our national anthem.
Uh-huh.
And we know that my hockey nemesis has been Matthew to Chuck.
Who's he play for?
He's playing for Florida.
Playing for Florida? Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, we had some problems with him with the Stars. He's fair, dirty player in my mind. And anyway, he was asked about it after the game. He said, I didn't like it. That's all I got to say about it. Because when the puck dropped, the gloves dropped, and Matthew Tkachuk proceeded to start. I don't know the guy on the Canadian team's name. It wasn't important. It was the guy that Tkachuk was kicking his ass.
Mm.
And there was 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the game.
Oh.
Not to be outdone by Matthew, his brother Brady dropped his gloves, and his whooping that he put on that boy was quite impressive. I think Tkachuk fought 2, Matthew fought 2, and Brady fought 1. But when Matthew went to the penalty box first, and he was standing there at the door waiting for his brother to come in with him. And then they proceeded to beat Canada 3-1 in their own country. So, I mean, I'm hoping that when the Canadian teams come down to play the NHL, you know, like be it Nashville, be it the Stars or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm hoping that the fans will not boo the Canadian national anthem. I don't believe in it. Just because they did it to us up there, don't mean we do it to them down here. You know, and I don't agree with them doing it, and I don't agree with. I'm not trying to go off on a political rant or anything. I'm just talking about national anthem etiquette.
Sure.
I mean, the time for you to protest, if you've got a problem with anything, I don't care how right you are. If you are 100% right, but you use the national anthem to make your point, I'm against it. I'm against it 100%. You could be protesting the national anthem, and I'm going to get $1 million. That because of your protest, I'm against it.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the time, because it's damn disrespectful. And also at this point in time, if you know that you're doing that pisses people off, why should anybody care what your cause is if you're using that time to show a protest?
Right.
It's the national anthem is not the time or the place.
I hope that at least these Canadian hockey players, I'm hoping they at least said something negative to the American hockey players, and it wasn't just
they toted an ass whooping from principle. That's just how
what
hockey
I was afraid
is.
Of.
and the Canadian players were not booing.
Bro, I know what I'm saying.
One of the Dallas Stars was playing. One of the Dallas Thomas Harley was getting ready to go to the Caribbean with Wyatt Johnston. They're a couple of young guys. They were going to go. They were going on tropical vacation, and Harley got the call about just coming, and he didn't even know he was going to get to play. It was just an emergency sub,
right?
And he canceled his vacation, and he went to play on Team Canada. So,
I do think Darren Staley has a good point. They booed Nikolai Volkov. When he would sing his anthem.
Yeah. Amy, I did not know that Amy Vaughn could do a Swedish chef impression. It was spot on, dirty.
It's supposed to be the Russian anthem. Swedish.
Now, Darren Staley, it's okay to be against it. Okay to say it's disrespectful, but vets fought for the right for us to stand, sit, kneel. I don't like it either. Well, Darren, they didn't fight for the rights of the Canadian people to shit on it, okay?
Hi, Addison B. Yeah, I think I saw a short clip about that. It was like literally, like you said, just two people going at it like the I don't know. Do they have a bell?
I'll create an addendum. I'll create an addendum. If you want to boo a communist country, okay.
Okay.
But anyway, and I got tickled at one of the newspapers that said that America wins a close one, 3-1. 3-1 is not that close in hockey.
Yeah, I would think at least 2.
It's hard to come back from 3 down in hockey. But they're going to play. It's going to be Canada and the United States playing tomorrow for the tournament final for the championship. So. And
so, what is this? Is it just a tournament that they have?
It's during the All-Star break for hockey.
Okay.
Instead of having an All-Star game, they've found something that these guys want to play and be competitive at.
Right. You're right, Fritz. How could you do, like, okay, like you said, they do flag football.
Oh, and also while I'm at it, ladies, I don't care if you're wearing a cap, take your freaking cap off. When the national anthem was played, every guy in the building is taking their hat off. Just because you got your hair like you like it, don't mean that you get to keep your hat on. Take your hat off. Then go to the bathroom, put it back on if you need to.
You're awful bossy tonight.
Hey, it is what it is. I grew up at a time when we were taught all that.
Oh, I agree.
The flag didn't touch the ground.
No, I agree.
It was a privilege to go out front and get to raise the flag in the morning or bring it down in the afternoon, and they taught us how to fold it.
Our fifth grade class, one of our teachers, he was a vet, and his class in fifth grade, his class was in charge of taking down the flag and putting it up every day. That's kind of cool. Like you said, that's pretty cool.
It was a big deal. Everybody knows that my deal, he walked in the snow. That's a fact, Andrew. He walked in the snow to school uphill both ways with no shoes and no mustard Doritos. Yeah, what a travesty.
Ooh, mustard, do they make those? Mustard
Doritos?
Doritos?
Hot mustard Doritos. Hot mustard
Oh.
Doritos. They tasted like they're limited time. They tasted like the hot mustard that you get at McDonald's with your chicken nuggets.
Okay. I'm
It's really
pretty much
good.
a red bag girl.
We got a new one right now. It's called late night loaded taco.
How okay, let me ask you this, because you said the hot mustard one was kind of a limited. Did they all start off as kind of limited, and then depending on the sales, they stay around, or do they
No.
always just
There's certain flavors that
It's
they
always gonna be
rotate in and
limited?
out. Like it'll be back
Mhm.
next year for a limited time.
Will it be
I
under
mean,
a different name?
No,
Probably.
it'll still be like
It'll
last year.
still be the
Last year they did, like 2023, they did ketchup Doritos and mustard Doritos.
oh God,
Ketchup.
Doritos.
Yeah, they weren't that great. So this year they did mustard with very little I didn't even get any ketchup ones. But now we have loaded late night loaded taco, and Terry Weaver says so Taco Bell. But it's funny he says that, because to me it kind of tasted like a burrito supreme.
Interesting.
And we've gotten what else? We just came out with got a whole new value line, $2.99. We already had hot fries and ranch fries. We've just introduced Carolina barbecue fries and chili cheese fries.
Darren, have you tried the Carolina fries?
Probably not, because
They
they're
just came out?
I got mine first, and half the stores that you have to scan into didn't have them in their system yet.
Oh, well,
So
you would
probably
think
next week.
Carolina.
Wide reliefs next week, and
Gotcha.
since I always use Family Dollar for all the bad things that happens to me during the day in my stories, I will say that Family Dollar sells all of our $2.99 products: the Santitas, the fries, the Chester's popcorns, all the $2.99 products are going to be they're $2.99 and 2 for $5 every day.
Okay.
And we're introducing a Santitas salsa, a jar of salsa, and they will be $2.99 and 2 for $5 also.
I think I like those Santita chips. I like them. They're
good.
They're thicker. I
They
mean,
are.
like they're not real thin. I like that.
Yes, Amy likes it thick. Got you.
Yes, I do. My friends know.
We're learning all kinds of stuff about her tonight.
Don't remember. Hey, Cash Wheeler. Like, I mean, he's a. Anyway.
Top of the hour, Brandon Tolle, professional wrestling referee and trading card aficionado, will be joining us at the top of the hour. We're super excited. I got a stack for him to evaluate, and he's going to have a couple of packages of the new WWE Chrome cards. Me and Amy both have a package that he's going to break them for us here on the show. And we're going to see, hopefully we get something really good.
Heck yeah. Look, Ellie joined us. You remember Ellie?
I do remember Ellie.
Hi, Ellie. I love
Hi,
it.
Ellie.
They're all my family. I love it. All my nieces or several of my nieces and nephews are joining us. This is so fun. I'm super excited about Brandon coming on. I had a chance to kind of talk to him at Top Guy Tussle. Just, I know nothing about trading cards. I mean, all of that. I mean, it is a dance and a half. And so he was just kind of telling me a lot of different little things. I was asking questions about things because I said, huh?
Opening them are very addictive.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, even as a kid, the baseball cards with the nasty little bubble, with the stiff piece of bubble gum in them.
Yes.
I mean, but opening the cards and seeing what you got and getting frustrated, like when you look up and you got 4 of the same guy that you ain't ever even heard of, or or you get down where you're checking, you got the checklist and you're trying to get all of the cards, and you need that one card, and there's no internet for you to go find the one card that you need.
Oh, yes. And yes, very much so. It's like gambling, right? It's like, well, okay, one more box. Maybe that's in it. Maybe, that's that adrenaline, like you said.
Stephanie got into it with the AEW cards, and she was buying them. I mean, we were going and I was going to comic book stores, buying the boxes of them where we could find them, and we'd get home and then we'd split them up to open, and we're sitting at the bar, and like we're grown ass people, and we're grandparents.
Exactly. No, I'm telling you,
we're grandparents in our 50s, breaking just having fun with trading cards.
Yes.
And trying to put together, and she's trying to get. I mean, she's looking into it, and she's made a spreadsheet that has each color that they came in, because the AEW cards would come with different colors. And she was just, I mean, and then she was on Whatnot trying to get them, and I mean, it was just craziness, sitting there and spending mass quantities of money on these cards.
I bet.
It's really addictive.
So what happened? Did you collect them all and you just didn't do any more, or what happened? Why did you stop?
It was just got to where you took a deep breath and like, why?
Right. And realize maybe spend your money on something else.
Sometimes when you collect stuff, you walk in and you look at it, and I mean, there's been times I'd come in the room and I'd look at all the belts that I have, and I didn't see belts. I just saw a big old pile of money.
Yeah. That's true. I like but yeah, Brandon has some. I was just interested to know, like, because obviously you want ones that are signed, and but like,
or a Kiss card, not like the band Kiss, but they actually had Kiss cards where one of the divas would kiss the card.
Oh,
so you had their legitimate lip print on the card.
Interesting.
I think I have an Ember Moon Kiss card.
Oh.
I know I have one with a piece of the mat
somewhere.
Yeah, I may have to reach over
and look around for it.
I mean, I know exactly where it's at.
Oh, but I think
I've got that. I've got her 2 action figures and the card.
I think though you have to really like stay in it to I don't want to say make any money, but do you still have your cards? What'd you do with them? Did you sell them? Or?
Most of them we sold on our gimmick table at the matches.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
She still has quite a few. I mean, there's a shoebox of them. And like I said, I went through and took them out, because I've got a really cool one with Sting's autograph on it that I'm going to blow everybody's mind when I show it.
I cannot wait. I can't wait. What if Brandon's like, oh my God, that's going to be cool. Have you ever talked to Brandon about that one?
Well, yeah, but I don't know what it's worth.
Oh, does he know what it's worth?
Yeah.
I'm
sure he does. That's kind of, that's what he does.
Well,
you know what I do though?
What?
I do belts.
Yes, you do.
We're going to do a little belt poke tonight on Talking Wrestling, because I'm reading a very, very good book.
Ooh,
It's called
good book.
A Complete History of Sam Munchnick's Missouri State Championship, which was widely regarded as a stepping stone to the NWA World Title. And I just happened to have a replica of the Missouri Championship. And what's neat about it is everybody, it's a five plate belt, and it's got these red, not really grommets, but cap covers, more or less. And the reason it does, I was looking at the book, and there's a picture of Reggie Parks, because Reggie Parks was commissioned in 1972 in 1972, he was commissioned to make the Missouri belt. Prior to that, Harley Race was the Central States champion, which is out of Kansas City, but letting him defend it in St. Louis from Munchnick. Munchnick was not a state title guy. He wasn't big on secondary titles. But they worked it in, and Harley defended it. But Harley eventually lost it, and they were thinking, well, if we're going to do it, we might as well do it with our own belt. So they were going to have this tournament, and it was so poorly done. The tournament was like nobody knew what was going on, and Harley had won 4 matches, and Pak Song had won some matches, and I think there's a couple other guys that, but I mean, this was like in April. Well, by August they didn't have a, by August they didn't have the, they decided we're not getting any closer. Nobody knows what's going on. So let's just put Harley Race against Pak Son, and the first champion will be crowned. That's going to be the tournament finals. But before I get there, like I was saying, they got Reggie to make a belt, and there's a picture that Dave Milliken had provided for the book with Reggie's holding a 7-plate belt. And I got to looking, and then I could finally see that, like, by the time Bob Backlund got it, or Ted DiBiase got it, it only had 5 plates. So I couldn't find any information about why there wasn't 7 plates on the belt anymore. So I text Dave Milliken, and I asked him about it. I said, did Reggie just take them off on a re-leather? Did one of them break? And one of them had fell off. So what Reggie did is took the other one off, and then in that spot, that's why he's got those covers. Those
hold that belt back up, then. Let's see it, please.
You got it.
So show me where the it used to be. Okay.
On the end there.
Okay.
So he put this, like, that's probably where it was bolted.
I got you.
He just put those covers
because it was just do we know what it was of? What the plate, like what was on that little plate?
The picture, it looked just like a logo plate almost. Like
okay.
The picture, I couldn't make out what it was, but it's probably just like this one. It was probably more filler like this one right here.
I gotcha.
But
just something. Now,
but it's a fascinating. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if I remember correctly, you would say that the Missouri State belt was kind of like the indicator that if you had that belt, then you were in the running to be the NWA heavyweight champion. Correct. Is that correct?
They considered it to be a stepping stone to the NWA title.
Okay. That's what I thought you said before.
And I'm going to go over the title history for you, and just to see, because the pedigree that's on this belt, for a belt that Sam Munchnick didn't really want to do.
Right.
And I mean, I'm just going over the champions, not so much even how the challengers that they had. But so Harley Race, first champion, he was crowned with the win over Pak Son.
Who is Pak Son? Who is that?
Pak Son's a Japanese wrestler.
Okay.
He was all over in the 70s. He was really formidable.
Was he from like All Japan, New Japan, and came over here, or did he live here and wrestled all over the place?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming that. I mean, he was Oriental, and they made him a heel. That was the playbook on Oriental wrestlers.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but Asian wrestlers. How about that? Asian instead of Oriental. I was told that you're not supposed to say that, and you're not supposed to say that. Use that word.
You can't use Oriental.
Even though if you're going shopping for a rug, they call it a rug. You know.
Really? I
Yeah.
did not. I mean, unless they're just extreme. Okay, whatever. Okay.
Matt Coon gave me a stern talking to for using that term.
And
he's never wrong about anything. So there we go.
Good point. Okay.
So Harley Race wins the championship on 9/16, and on 12/16, December 16th, he had a double disqualification against Johnny Valentine. For you young people, Johnny Valentine was Greg Valentine's father, and not by name. Like Buddy Roberts was Del Valentine. He was a made up Valentine. Greg and Johnny were legit Valentines.
I love how you said for the young people, like they know who Greg Valentine is.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the wrestler that you see on Valentine's Day that it says "Be my Valentine" on all the memes. And he looks like a gym teacher from 1957, a woman's gym teacher from 1957. So, on January 19th of 1973, just a little over a month later, they have a rematch to determine the held up belt, and Johnny Valentine defeats Harley Race. Mm-hmm. Not even a month later, on February 10th, he loses the belt to Terry Funk. So we're on our third champion. Mm-hmm. Two of them are going to be NWA, or either have been or going to be NWA World Heavyweight Champions. Mm-hmm. So then, just a month later, on 3/16, oh hell yeah, on March 16th, 73, Gene Kaninsky subbed for Johnny Valentine on his rematch and wins the belt. Gene Kaninsky, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He holds the belt for 7 months, and on October 13th loses it to Harley Race. So that's 2 for Harley Race. And Harley's going to keep it until May 24th of 74, and loses it to yet another NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Dory Funk Jr., in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Dory keeps the belt until February of 75, February 21st of 75, where Harley Race wins it back for his third time, and it was a 2 out of 3 falls match as well. 2 months later, on April 23rd, Harley loses the belt to Bob Backlund. Yeah, that Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund that lost the WWF title to Iron Sheik prior to Hulk Hogan. So while he wasn't an NWA World Champion, he was the WWF champion for many years. Very long reign. Mm-hmm. And he held the belt until November 26th. I'm going to guess that was probably a Thanksgiving card. And he lost it to Jack Briscoe.
Oh, again, all these names.
Another NWA World Champion.
Definitely.
So Jack Briscoe holds it all the way to August 12th of 77, and loses it to Dirty Dick Slater. And Dick Slater beat him with a shoulder breaker at 9 minutes and 45 seconds in that match. Slater holds the belt until February. On February 11th, he's defeated by Ted DiBiase.
Oh,
a very young Ted DiBiase. Ted only holds it for 2 weeks, and on the 25th of February, loses it to Dick Murdoch after a brain buster on the floor.
Oh,
Murdoch gives him a brain buster on the floor, rolls him in the ring, and gets the win. Dick Murdoch's going to hold the belt until July 14th. And then Dick the Bruiser. Yes, Dick the Bruiser becomes a Missouri heavyweight champion. He holds the belt all the way until March of the next year, March of 79. Dick Murdoch regains the belt. Brian St. John was scheduled to wrestle Murdoch on television. Mm-hmm. And Dick the Bruiser came out and wanted a match with Murdoch. He was pissed off at him. He wanted him. And Murdoch said, well, I'm not going to wrestle you unless you put the belt on the line. He put the belt on the line and with his foot on the ropes, regained the championship from Dick the Bruiser. 2 months later, they have a cage match, and Dick the Bruiser regains the title in a cage with Pat O'Connor as the referee.
Interesting.
Just a side note, because everything's Von Erich to me. David Von Erich had his shot at Harley Race on that same card. A very young David Von Erich. He had beat Harley Race on television with the Iron Claw and got a title shot in St. Louis. Also on that last one, that Brian St. John that I mentioned, also was Kevin Von Erich's first opponent for his debut match. Just a little trivia there. You never know. July 13th, Dick Murdoch gets the title back. He wins 2 out of 3 falls. After 2 pile drivers on the floor, Dick the Bruiser was unable to answer the call for the third and deciding fall. So Murdoch gets it done on the floor. Brain busters, pile drivers. He holds the belt all the way up to November 2nd of 1979, when a young Kevin Von Erich wins in 21 minutes with the Iron Claw. Up until that point, it was kind of a deal where nobody got to take the Missouri title with them when they won. It always stayed in the office. It was just brought out for the shows. Nobody was allowed to take it with them. Munchnick didn't want anybody losing the belt for one. They didn't want them promoting, they didn't want them defending it on other shows. And but nobody told Kevin. So when Kevin got dressed, he threw the belt in his bag, took it home with him. Munchnick calls him and says, Kevin, where's my belt? And Kevin said, I got it right here. Nobody told him. And that fellow that was in charge of the belts kind of got a little trouble over it.
I bet.
But,
is any other belt like that where you had to leave it? I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you don't want to lose it. I mean, if you have people coming in.
Well, yeah. I mean,
areas.
I don't know how common that was back in the day. That a territory would hang on to their belts and didn't let the champion take it with them.
I know really thought about it.
I know Crockett didn't, because Buzz Tyler got pissed off. He was the Mid-Atlantic champion. That white belt, white Mid-Atlantic belt. He got pissed off and went home, took the belt with him. They never got it back.
Well, maybe that's what. That was a lesson that they saw from afar, and it's like, you know what, we're not going to do that.
But Kevin held the belt from November till April, and on April 25th of 1980, Ken Patera beats Kevin Von Erich.
Interesting. Ken Patera.
Yeah, did it with the full Nelson. I think swinging neck breaker, the swinging full Nelson. Ken Patera holds it until November 21st of 1980, and Ted DiBiase defeats him to start his second reign as the Missouri champion.
How old do you think Ted is he one of the youngest? I mean, obviously Kevin was probably the youngest, but Ted DiBiase had to be young too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were both in their 20s.
Yeah, early, because how old was Kevin? No, David died. Who died?
David died. Okay. David was 25 when he died in 84. Kevin's the oldest.
That's right. Okay. And he's still alive. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Ted DiBiase drops the belt. He almost holds it for a year. He keeps it till October 2nd of 81 and loses it to Jack Briscoe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's 2 for Jack Briscoe, isn't it? Yep.
Yes.
Then Jack Briscoe drops it to Ken Patera just 3 weeks later on the 23rd. Patera holds it until New Year's Day, and he loses it to Dick the Bruiser in front of a sellout crowd at the Checker Dome, 19,819, giving him one last run with the belt. And it was quite a run because he kept it for 8 months. I mean, 9 months, because on September 17th, Harley Race won it in a cage.
Where's the Checker Dome?
In St. Louis.
It's in St. Louis. Okay. Because
Mm-hmm.
when did Dick the Bruiser run his own promotion in Indiana? Was that after, before? Do you know?
Before.
before or even
Yeah,
during
it
the
had to
same
be.
time, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably since 70s. He may have still been running it in the 80s, but I mean, he was getting up there.
Right.
I mean, Bruiser and Crusher were, they were in the AWA for years. So
Right. I couldn't remember exactly when he had that. I want to say it was probably in the, because I feel like, well, I could be wrong, because I read the book about the Sheik, and so they did a lot of running, because I guess Detroit and Indianapolis, maybe they're not that far apart.
I like it to go. Darren Staley asked Efren, "Do you have any thoughts about Dick?"
I thought it said Togo. I was trying to figure
Yeah,
out what
there's
that
a wrestler.
meant.
There's a wrestler named Dick Togo, and Bruce Pritchard.
Oh.
Bruce Pritchard calls him Dick to go.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know.
Now, here's an interesting twist with Harley Race losing the Missouri belt.
Okay.
On January 21st, 1983, he
Okay.
loses the Missouri Championship to Kerry Von Erich,
Oh,
who will
okay.
become an NWA champion.
Yes.
But he loses the belt on a disqualification. The disqualification rule had been waived for this match. They call it a dark time for the Missouri title. It was not a popular title change because there wasn't a finish. It was a stupid finish because for 40 years it had been a disqualification to jump off the top rope in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And Harley Race jumped off the top rope and got disqualified, knowing he'd lose the belt. So Kerry got it, and Von Erichs don't follow rules very well. He took the belt to Japan without permission. Munchnick and Geigel didn't even know that he had taken the belt to Japan until they saw pictures of him in Japan with the belt.
Oops, that poor little belt boy got in trouble again.
And yeah, I know, it's crazy.
So,
but then they said when he returned the belt, they had to super glue one of the plates back on.
do you think some of that could have been a catalyst for the rules that we talked about last week, 1974? When did you say this was?
This was in 83.
Oh, 83. Never mind.
Yeah.
Forget it. Okay.
But I mean,
if I said anything, I don't know.
But I mean, the rules were used in a finish. You're not supposed to do that, and he did it. And
right.
I mean, I don't know if he thought the referee didn't see him or.
Right.
So Kerry holds the belt for 3 months, and on April 15th, he loses it to Crusher Blackwell, Jerry Crusher Blackwell from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Crusher Blackwell was a very large man, very large man, very agile to be so big. And Crusher only kept it for a month. On May 13th of 83, he lost it to Harley Race, which is interesting. And I'll tell you why, because on June the 10th of 1983, Harley Race defeats Ric Flair for the NWA World title. And the Missouri title is vacated at this time.
Oh, that is interesting. I wonder why they did that.
Well, I'm just wondering why you put the Missouri belt on Harley just to vacate it. Because, I mean, did they know in May that he was going to get the belt from Flair?
I don't know. Did they? I mean, was Blackwell a horrible champion? They just needed to get it off of him. I don't know anything about.
I don't know. They put it back on him again. So, I mean, it's.
What would have happened to cause?
Or maybe it's just because they didn't think about it. It's like, hey, Harley wins it, and then you never see him beating Flair coming. It could just happen at any time. Or maybe they put it on Harley. It made him the #1 contender in St. Louis, and that's why he got a title shot.
Interesting. Was there anything going on with Ric Flair that they would have wanted to take the title off of him? You know what I'm saying? Like they had to make
for him to get it back at Starrcade.
Was that the first Starrcade? Maybe that's why.
Oh,
I mean, I'm just trying to think, like maybe building it bigger. If it's your first Starrcade. I don't know.
Well, they had a tournament. They had a heck of a tournament. They had a one-night tournament that had 10 matches for the first round.
Oh my God.
including a bracket with Hulk Hogan, and I'm not going to open the book up to find the Japanese wrestler's name that he wrestled. But I mean, it was a bracket that went nowhere. So it didn't even make sense. But so they do this one night tournament, and Ric Flair defeats David Von Erich in the tournament final. Rick holds the belt until September 16th, and he has a 2 out of 3 falls match with David. He beats David in the first fall with the figure 4 leg lock.
Mm-hmm.
David beats Flair in the second fall with the Iron Claw, and then he beats Flair in the third and deciding fall with the Iron Claw to become the Missouri Heavyweight Champion.
Interesting.
He holds the belt until January 6th, where Race regains it for a 6th time. Oh, back to Race losing it to Kerry by DQ. A quote in the book was, "I didn't want to become Jack Briscoe, where I was just brought in to put somebody else over.
Damn.
I was already putting Kerry over all over the state of Texas. I'll be damned if I was going to do it in my hometown."
That's some shade to Jack Briscoe. He's just probably
Yeah, I know. He
like,
completely
"What the
crapped on
hell?"
Briscoe. He crapped on Briscoe. He crapped on Briscoe, and then said, I already had to put Kerry over in Texas. I'm not doing it at home." So he lost it by DQ.
So Kerry, David, and
Kevin, all three of the brothers held the Missouri Championship.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Now you know why I got a replica of it. Plus, I got plus a Ric Flair too. But
yeah, no, I understand. That sounds cool.
So Race holds the belt all year, loses it November 16th to Crusher Blackwell.
Mm-hmm.
And then on August the 2nd of 1985, Harley Race wins it back for the 7th time. And on September 20th, 1985, the belt was retired as the St. Louis Wrestling Club no longer promoted shows at the Kiel Auditorium because WWF is rolling. I mean, they couldn't compete with WWE anymore.
Right.
So just how many world champions held that belt?
I mean, every one of them pretty much, except for Blackwell. I don't know about him, Kevin.
Let's see. You have
David,
Race, Funk, Kaniski, the other Funk.
Uh-huh. I doubt Dick the Bruiser. He wasn't.
Jack Briscoe.
Kerry.
And Flair.
Yeah.
7 former NWA world champions, 8 when you count Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And still, I mean, and Dick the Bruiser and David and Kevin, like they all were very, Ted DiBiase. He was not an NWA champion, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, but how many times has Flair told us that he thought they were going to put the belt on Ted DiBiase? He was
right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there are no like how sometimes you get a champion and you're just like, okay, but there's none in that lineage. Like I said, I don't know who Crusher Blackwell is, but he held it twice. So I mean, he wasn't like a holding champion for anything.
No, Jerry Blackwell had a heck of a career.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not familiar with him, so. But he's
the
not
Japanese
a name.
His name was James Sorensen.
Darren.
Willie Buck wants to know, Palmwater and Amy. I'm just wondering how come y'all aren't reading my comments on Talking Wrestling with Palmwater Dave today, with a bunch of pissed off emojis. Well, now you got your comment read, Willie.
Well, and I think too, Willie. We had our Valentine's Day. We couldn't really fit that into the Missouri State Wrestling Talk, but I had a good Valentine's Day. How about you? I know Dave did. They didn't do nothing.
Yeah, I've got a Valentine's story. We got a few minutes before Brandon gets here. We'll segue. Yes. Let's talk about Valentine's. We're going to the basketball game. It's a state tournament.
Yes.
Granddaughter played in that game. We had a good time, but then there was a few hours before from the afternoon session to when the boys were going to play. We wanted to watch the boys play. Well, we were going to go try to find somewhere to eat, but where we were at,
This is Saturday? What
No,
day
this
is
was a
this?
Friday. It was
Oh,
Valentine's
Friday.
Day. How hard is
Okay.
it going to be to get a table anywhere on Valentine's Day?
Yes.
My
Saturday.
father-in-law does guided bird hunts
Oh,
at a place called Providence.
hmm
I probably shouldn't have named it, but no, I mean it's a beautiful facility. It's like going to a country club, but instead of a golf course, it's where they hunt. I
Yeah.
mean, it's beautiful. They have weddings out there. This is one of the most beautiful pieces of property I probably ever stepped foot on.
Oh,
They have a first class pro shop, like when you go to a golf course. Instead of that, but they sell shotguns and their rifles. But so he goes, "Hey, why don't we just go up to Providence and eat?" I said, "Well, you think we can get a table?" He goes, "I work here. We can get a table."
mm-hmm.
So we get there and we go, and there's another couple that goes, some friends of theirs. And anyway, the normal menu is not available because they have their special Valentine Days menu.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be, I don't even know if I should say.
Well, just kind of give us a highlight.
We were told how much it was going to be a person.
Okay.
And you got to choose an entree, an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert.
I got you.
And I mean, like this top menu, I mean, things like they got a little carried away because this is Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just telling you, this was like I had duck.
Okay.
The duck was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I had mushroom soup. Mushroom soup was perfect. I had for dessert, I had strawberry cream cheese wontons.
Ooh,
over
that
ice
sounds
cream.
good.
It
Ooh,
was
that
great.
sounds good.
Anyway, then the bill comes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a member there. So
Ooh.
my dinner ended up being, I thought it was going to be one price.
Yes.
But by the time you added on all the fees, it's $100 higher than what I expected.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm wanting to bow up
Yes.
because this is what I was told.
Yeah.
But my father-in-law works there, so I'm not going to be an ass at this nice place.
Yes.
And but boy, you talk about killing the mood. We were there so long we didn't get to go back and watch the boys' game. So Stephanie had to watch it on the iPad in the truck. So overpriced dinner, way over. It was excellent food. Excellent food. I'm not saying that it wasn't good.
Right, but
I'm just saying that I wanted to take her to a very nice steakhouse.
uh-huh.
And I could have gone there.
Right.
I mean, and it was really good though. It was a kick in the head. And
Well, again, you were told one thing and then
no, you're way too high, Darren. You're way too high.
I was gonna say, what? You were told one thing and then, that's kind of a bait and switch in a weird way, but they should have mentioned that or not assumed.
On a serious question, I didn't get the option to add the tip in. The tip was added in for me. And it was 25%.
For two people? I mean, just you two.
Yeah. Oh, there was three checks issued.
Right.
I mean,
And
she did
each
good,
one?
but
Yes, she did.
and hey, and I would have gave her. I mean, I'd have gave her 20% anyway. So
Right. Well, that's true. That's
I'm not
funny.
griping. I'm not griping about the tip.
Right, but it's
Other than the fact that she misquoted the price.
yeah, really. I wonder why they went ahead and put that on there. Like, I wonder if they always do that at that club. You know what I mean? Like they just go ahead and put.
Hey, if you go somewhere and the prices aren't printed on it, you probably can't. I mean, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
That's probably true. That's a scary. Was that Peter Luger's? I think they didn't have prices, did they?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Andrew, as it should be, if the service is good, days of 15 are gone. I don't do 15.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a minimum 20. And I've been known, if you really knocked it out of the park, I've been known to have, a $45 dinner, and I mean, if it's exceptional, I'll put 100 on the table and let them keep it.
Right.
I mean, if it's on and beyond, and it's not that way very
Right.
often, but I've done it before. Not often, but I have.
And I'm not surprised by the 25%. I guess I was just surprised they went ahead and put it on the check. Most of the time they only do that for big groups, like parties of more than 10. Yes, Peter Luger did not have the
I didn't like it.
prices.
I didn't like that it was already on there.
I didn't either. I mean, that just kind of, but I wonder if that's just again,
It's probably smart. It's probably smart though, because once you started gigging me for not being a member.
Oh.
Anyway, but it was. I mean, but we had a nice dinner, and
was it?
Then we went home, and I let Stephanie tell me how lucky she is to have me.
Oh, how lucky Stephanie was for that opportunity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know.
You're all.
It's our topic, our main topic. Can we stay on topic? Maybe, we doubt it, but we try. Brandon Tolle, pro wrestling referee, Brandon Tolle. Trainer cons are his thing, Brandon Tolle. Hanging with Dave and Amy, Brandon Tolle.
It's my pleasure this time to welcome one of my brother referees. Had the opportunity to work with him at Ric Flair's last match. He's had the opportunity to work a lot of nice places. And he hosts Top of the Card on Adfreeshows. Please welcome to the show, Brandon Tolle. How you doing, Brandon?
What's up? Good evening. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
I actually got an entrance theme. What?
Hey, we're
high class here at the Talking Dave show, at the Talking Wrestling show.
Phenomenal.
I got iMovie and AI.
Can't go wrong with it. All right.
No, not at all.
So how you been doing, man?
I've been all right. Just battling pneumonia the past week or so.
Oh, no.
Like whatever's going around, man, is rough.
Bless your heart.
Yes, I'm on the backside of it, but it's been a rough week or so. Like just it hit real quick, and so if y'all are feeling bad, my heart's out to you, because it's taking me down for a solid 8 day, today's Wednesday, so 9 days now, solid 9 days.
Goodness.
So
well, after Huntsville, Dave Westbrook and his whole family had it really bad.
Ooh,
well,
yeah.
and so did Randy Elkerai. So several people had kind of the flu. I think it was flu A is what they ended up being diagnosed with. So
it's what I thought I had, but I ended up going to the doc on Friday because we had that winter storm here last week. So I kind of just gutted it out at home for a few days, because I'll get it once every year or so. I'm asthmatic, so I'm used to it with the temperature shifts and all that. But man, after 4 days of being put down, I was like, all right. And no flu, no COVID, no nothing, straight up walking pneumonia. So I was just like, okay. So
you
here we
didn't
are.
have to go in the hospital or anything. They just gave you some strong meds.
Yeah. Meds and just rest. So luckily I work at home primarily. So I'm able to just sit here and do my work at home here in the studio.
Right.
In my palatial abode.
Do you have children?
No kids.
So you definitely were able to get the rest that you needed.
Yeah. Well, I strike that. I have one kid. I have a 75-pound pit bull who's like a baby. So
I stayed home today from work. The big winter storm here, so I work from home. And you're right. I mean, I have 2 dogs. Capone is a mixture of all things huge, and he's 100 pounds. And he, every time I look, he's looking at me like, I need this. I need water. I need food. I need to go out. And you're just like, I'm never going to be able to get any work done because I'm taking care of you,
Yep.
So I can imagine. What's your
Yeah.
pit bull's name?
Abbey Road, like the Beatles.
Oh, I love it.
So she is 75 pounds. We actually had to take her to the vet today. So she is 75 pounds of nothing but pure tank and love.
Oh,
That dog is. So she's out in the living room laying down right now. But yeah, she's like a child though, you know.
mhm.
She
Understand
is
that.
absolutely like my child. So treat her as such.
I
But
can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah, so it's nice. It was nice to, even though because I work from home primarily nowadays when I'm not on the road and everything. So I was able to do a little bit of work and do a little bit of streaming like I normally do, not to the extent I would during like right at the beginning of it, but it's definitely been a change now that I'm working from home primarily, and my schedule is a lot more flex, a lot more free flex, basically.
Mhm,
Like, you know, I know what markers I need to hit and that sort of thing. But outside of that, I'm not bound to, all right, 9 to 5, like, you know. So like tomorrow, even though it's going to be near zero here tomorrow, I'll get up and take her out tomorrow morning, and then I'll sit down and get diving into the work and everything else and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, my Mississippi wiener dogs do not like this cold weather. It's 30 degrees, and I let them out. And normally I got one that it takes forever to get him back in the house. And he was in before Bucky this time, and he came in, ran right to a pee pad, and took care of his business.
yep,
Bless his
mine.
little
He wasn't
heart.
interested in staying outside.
Yeah, mine will go out long enough. Like today, I took her to PetSmart as a little get out because she missed both walks yesterday because it snowed all day here. So I took her out this morning and we went inside and had her fun. And then we went outside and went to the bathroom and she hopped back in my car. And once she hopped in my car, she started holding up her paw, just like a real like limp paw, like cold, like, no. She's not a deep summer dog. She's not a deep winter dog. She's a spring and a fall dog. Fall, we could do 1.5 hour walks and it would not faze her in the slightest. But she's a temperate dog. Say that much. Temperate and spoiled. The best way I can put it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, that's the best thing to do with a dog is to spoil them.
Hey, before I start asking you about refereeing,
Yeah.
tell me about that Stanley Cup champion banner you got back there. Who's your team?
St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
So I live in suburban St. Louis. I moved out here in 2011 is when I moved out here. So in Cincinnati, where I'm from originally, we don't have NHL hockey. We had minor leagues, which the only reason the go to those was $1 PBR night when you can take a $10 bill, a couple hot dogs, and just drink away the whole night.
Yeah.
They were good. Like our team was good, but it wasn't like you're not going to get that introduction. So my introduction to hockey came actually from, and I'll drop the names here because I have to, Kevin Steen and Sami Zayn, or Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So we were Ring of Honor in 2008. Because I was there pretty much through Pierce's booking reign. I was there before it, a few months before he came in, but I was there pretty much through his entire booking reign. So we'd be on the road, either at house shows or TV, whatever. And they had the incarnation of the Sling box where you hook it up to your cable box. You can watch your home cable box like on your computer and stuff. So it'd be in a locker room at a Saturday night TV, or during the daytime or whatever beforehand. And they'd have Hockey Night in Canada up, the CBC Canadian TV version on their computer. So that was kind of my introduction to hockey. So when I moved out here, I started going to hockey games out here. And so that banner is our the 2019 Stanley Cup banner from when the Blues won their first cup in franchise history in 2019.
Cool.
That really blows my mind that a team like St. Louis, you would just assume that they had several.
No, actually, that was our first. It had been 50 years since we had been to the cup final before 19. And the last time we were there were our first 2 years as a club. In 78 it was 78, 50 years off of 19. So 68 and 69 were the first 2 years. And those are the last 2 times we had been to the cup final since. So, and ironically enough, we ended up playing Boston, which is who we played in 69 the last time we were in a cup final. So we had to beat the people that beat us in 69 to get our first cup. And it took us 7 games to do it. So Will, and actually this ties into Abby. Actually, I gave up going to I was going to go to the parade for the cup, and gave up going to the parade because we had the house visit for Abby from the foster family.
Oh,
So I call her, she's my Stanley pup, because I gave up going to the parade downtown to clean the house and make sure the house was ready for the house visit for her when she came in. So that would have been June of 2019.
Nice.
where was the foster? Is it in St. Louis?
Yeah, suburban St. Louis, out west, about a half hour west. It's the foster family was actually about 3 blocks behind my house. So we kind of got, because we were supposed to have the house visit, and then it was going to be another 2-3 weeks before we could adopt her.
Right.
Well, that all changed because once they realized that they were in the same subdivision we are, just at the other end of it, they're like, well, you can take her right now, like, and gave us like a bag of food and everything. So I had like a whole Amazon list of stuff I was going to buy because I thought we had a couple of weeks, and that turned into a panic rush shopping trip to Walmart to get like a crate and all the stuff we had on the list because we got her about 3 weeks early. So we've had her since, I think, 6 weeks, since she was 6 weeks old.
Oh, my friend, she lives in St. Louis, and I looked it up. She does a lot with the CARE. I guess it's the Center for Animal Rescue and Enrichment in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And so she'll post different things on it. So when you said that about fostering, I was like, I just wonder, what if they might, it'd be interesting if it came from that one.
I'm an adopt, don't shop person.
Me
all
too.
day long.
Oh,
adopt, don't shop.
My poor babies are mixtures of goodness knows what, and love them very much.
Yeah. Mine. We know she's a pit mix, because she's not the stocky like the stocky, but she has some of those characteristics. And she's white. She's white with chocolate. She's white with chocolate brindle and a bunch of spots.
Oh,
so
cool.
she's gotten confused for being a boxer. She's gotten confused for being like 2 or 3 other types of dogs. And you really only notice that she's a pit when her ears are up and her mouth's open with her big smile. And then when tug time comes, when she tucks those ears back and that neck, she compresses and gets real short with that neck and starts thrashing around. That's when you realize she's a pit. But short of that, like 9 times out of 10, she gets confused. Like when we're out on the walk and stuff, nobody really thinks that she's a pit unless we say something.
Do you, please tell me you put clothes on her. You dress her up. Does she have?
She hates them.
Pearls?
She hates them.
Darn.
We can't even put we try to put a hoodie on her to take her outside because she's thin haired. Like in this cold weather, hates it. Like I have to distract her, otherwise she rubs up against stuff and wants to rub off and take off the hoodie. Like she hates wearing clothes. Trust me, because I've thought about it, but she absolutely hates it. She is not a fan of it in any way, shape, or form.
Mine aren't either. I did get them bandanas for Christmas. They did, like my kids who they dress, they allow me the one picture and then it's like, get this off of me,
Yeah, she gets so focused and she loves people. Like we don't do pictures with Santa. We did it like when she was younger, pre-COVID. But we haven't done it since. Like she'll sit for a photo or anything like that, but she loves people so much. It's just like, it's hard to get her, especially when she's around new people, to get her to like focus, because she gets that laser focus and that laser excitement, where she'll start shaking. She gets so excited. So
yeah, I got one that pees all over everybody, but they tell me that he'll grow out of it and maybe in 6 months.
Recently got fixed.
Yeah,
he's peed on me twice since he got fixed.
Really?
He didn't used to pee on me. He didn't pee on me at all.
Yeah, Abby, honestly, like she puts, and I'll say this for anybody watching, like any of the stigma you think about pit bulls or anything like that, it does not exist. It is
I know.
Farce. It is a farce, and my dog has absolutely, literally shattered the stereotype. And with people that once they don't know that she's a pit, once they interact with her, and she's so happy, and her whole back end moves and wiggles back and forth, wiggle butts and all that. And then when they say what breed is she, and we're like, well, she's a pit. Like it literally, I've seen jaws drop because they're like, pits aren't supposed to act like this. I'm like,
right.
It's like, don't believe everything you see.
Yeah.
Like I'd go to the mat. I'd go to the mats for this stuff for my dog. Like I'll defend her to the Hilton.
Next time Top Guy Tussle comes around, bring her and I will babysit while you're in the room, because I need some hugs and love from this baby girl. I can tell.
She would not know what to do with herself around a room full of new people. It would be, she'd be the most social person in the room. I'll tell you that much.
That sounds great. Sounds fabulous.
So, Brandon, you mentioned Ring of Honor,
Yep.
but before, in '08. But how long have you been refereeing?
I started training the day I turned 18, so that would have been July of 03.
Okay.
So I kind of took a unconventional route, basically. I met my trainer about 6 months before I graduated high school. It was actually outside a WWE house show in Cincinnati. And I can tell you, remember it was President's Day 03. We just had a winter storm the day before. And I met him, and my trainer was trained by Shawn Michaels in the couple of years that he had TWA
Okay.
in the late 90s. So, but he, when I met him, he Christian person. So a lot of everything he did wrestling wise was Christian outreach and stuff like that. So I trained with him privately and then would do a lot of the Christian outreach stuff in the early years of my career, along with learning how to build rings and that sort of stuff, all the stuff that you normally go through.
Did you start training to wrestle, or did you know it was always going to be referee?
I didn't in the beginning. I learned very quickly that it was going to be a referee, and I'll tell you how. So I know the exact. So Mick Foley, he talks about Pinewood, West Virginia was like where his first show was and all that. I can tell you where my first show was. My first show was in Hazard, Kentucky.
Kentucky. No.
And it was on a Friday night, which down there, I probably still is this way to this day, where high school football is like religion. And we were running a show. I went to a show with my trainer and did the same thing, build the ring, get the reps in. And I was just going to watch. And I have ref gear as well, on the side. I always bring, always be prepared for anything. And the promoter there forgot to book a ref. So my trainer comes up to me. He's like, "You think you can do this?" I said, "Yeah, we've done enough, rules are simple enough, you know what I mean? And this is in front of 20 people. Like, this isn't anything major, but, I went in and Iron Man, my very first show in Hazard, Kentucky, and it felt natural. Like it felt, I knew after one or two matches on that show, I was like, okay, this is it. And my trainer after the show looked at me, made sure I got a payday for it. And then said, he's like, "I think we found your calling." And I said, "I agree." And then from there on, I still would bump, I do rolls and bumps and everything. Like, you got to protect yourself. That.
Yeah.
But from then on, at that point, it went into refereeing specifically, with still learning how to bump. I can do the international sequence, basically, lock up, grab a head, throw off, shoulder tackle, drop down, float over, hip toss, body slam, cover, 1, 2, kick, grab a hold. I can do the international spots. You know what I mean? But it very quickly out of the gate after that first show was reffing, and it's pretty much been stylized that way the majority of my career. I've wrestled one match in my entire career as a wrestler competitor, not a ref. And that was
me too.
Yeah, that was 2009 in Cincinnati. So, but I did a lot of the Christian outreach stuff in the early years of my career. Why? Because I was still in college at the same time too, going after my bachelor's degree, and was working full time on top of it, putting myself through school. So, and then at that point, probably around mid 07, after doing it a few years, I broke myself, and basically my trainer didn't help me in terms of trying to break into the indies. I broke into the indies in Cincinnati on my own. And it was one of those where once someone, I got on a show, there was either another promoter there or some of the boys were there, and they're like, "This kid actually knows what he's doing." And that turned into, okay, we're going to speak to you and get you booked here, here, and here. And then that opened up Indiana, further up into Ohio, Dayton, and up north. And then that all turned into how I ended up starting to do dark matches with ROH in the summer of 08.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. What led to your one match that you said you had in 09?
So it was for, the name will be familiar, but it's not the Les version, Heartland Wrestling Association, HWA. It was post Les being involved.
Okay.
And, we had a ref there who, we'll just call it what it is. He was horrible. It was bad. And I mean, bad to the point where he was blowing matches on the regular.
Ooh.
So they needed to get him out of it, but they wanted to keep him around because he was kind of a little mini heat magnet from the response of the fans. So they transitioned him into a manager, but they're like, well, we're going to need to do kind of a ref angle to get him out of this altogether. We can't make him a manager for no reason. So the other ref was like in his early 50s. So it was either me or him. And I was like, I got this. Like,
Yeah.
I'll do it. You know what I mean? And so we did. It was a place at that point. Heartland was doing every Wednesday night in suburban Cincinnati. So it was like the same 70 people every Wednesday night. And then one Saturday a month, would kind of be the blow offs basically. So, we did the match. They had us blocked for like 8 minutes. I think they didn't think we would go long at all, or that we would have the crowd. Like they had the heels and the baby faces ready to come out both sides of the entrance we had to get the fans invested in the match and try to get the reaction. We found out after the fact we didn't need it, and we went almost 16 minutes.
Oh my.
And it was a Saturday show, so they were flexed like that. They're like, you had the crowd the entire way. You didn't overstay your welcome. Like I had actually I had fractured my finger about a week before the match. So I had one of those metal little finger, cuffs, like whatever for it. So basically I just wrapped tape around it, and basically I told him, like, he's like, I want to do this and this. And he was like, for the match, I was like, no, like, dude, we're refs. We ain't looking for Danielson Joe 2 here. Like, I was like, you're working my hand for 5 minutes. That's what you're doing. And I was like, I'm going to wing up. I'm going to throw a punch. We got to the outside. I was like, I'm going to punch. You're going to miss. I'm right-handed. So it's odd throwing my left, but whatever.
Right.
Through the left, the metal hit the post, so you could hear the cling hitting the post. Didn't hurt me at all, but I was like, there's a cutoff. I said, and you're working my hand for 5 minutes, and then we go from there. So, but yeah, I have one picture of it in my hallway because basically I got to tear his ref contract up for going over. So it's the only match I've ever done. I was gassed after it. It was a whole different level.
I bet.
But for me, being able to hear what I do from the other end, for one time, I've been able to hear from the other ref, whether it's time or direction or whatever the case may be. It was such a unique experience hearing it from the other end. It was great. It was a great experience to have. Like, I've never disrespected what the boys do. You know what I mean? And trust me, we've been in with them. I've done 30, 40, I've done an hour, I've done 75 minutes. And, but being able to hear it from that other end on the opposite side of it was definitely something that I still take with me all these years later.
Awesome. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I've been in one singles match.
Okay.
Just out there. It's kind of like first match of the show, which I'm lucky they didn't all leave. It was bad. It was bad, and it wasn't because it wasn't her fault. It was mine. But I lost. I did the whole I wouldn't hit a girl, and she didn't care, and she didn't have any problem hitting me, and I just let her. I just took it. I mean, she was a monster. She's pretty much doing a monster gimmick, and I let her, and I got destroyed. But I was wearing a mask, not like. Of course, I had a Superman S on my shirt and the Super D on my boots and my tights, and so it wasn't hard to put 2 and 2 together for our normal crowd. But it is what it is. And I've been in 2 rumbles where I just got in the ring, tried a couple shoulder tackles and got thrown over top rope. It was just in and out.
Yeah, it was a good experience to have, but reffing has basically been the core of everything I've done for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
So, and I love it. I wouldn't change. I would not change. And we talked about this, you and I did when we were down at Top Guy Rumble. I would not change a thing because, and I still say it to this day. I mean, if you'd have told 10-year-old me that you would have reffed on on Ric Flair's retirement show, there's no way I'd have believed you. And I think I told Dave when we were down there a few weeks ago, it's still surreal to me to an extent, 3 years later now. It's like, did I really actually did that? And then I realized a couple nights ago, I was watching one of those compilation things on YouTube that same building. I'm a big 88, 89, 90 WWE guy. Like I could watch those pay-per-views and TVs. I will, just watch them just to watch them. The Nashville Municipal Auditorium where we did the Flair show was where they did the blow off for Hogan and Zeus in 89. Cool. They did the No Holds Barred, the match there for the No Holds Barred, the movie No Holds Barred, the match. It was Hogan and Beefcake against Savage and Zeus in a steel cage in that same building. And I did not realize that until about 3 days ago when I was watching that on YouTube. When they said, they're like, well, from the National Municipal Auditorium, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I actually worked that building? Like,
yeah, it's
nice.
Conrad just up until after the venue had changed and we were going to Municipal, hearing him talk about all the stuff that had happened in that building.
Yeah.
And just, the Harley race getting the pile driver on the table.
Yep.
It just title changes.
Yeah. And then for me as well, being an alumni from TNA, like that city has so much history for TNA, from front to finish. So it's still hard to believe I did it. And honestly, like I think I was telling you, but I know I told Conrad this in hindsight. Like when I got the call or the text message, actually, I remember said it was like, I don't think I was booked till like 3 weeks before the show. Cause I was still so inside baseball. So, I work in the sports card industry, and most people know that. It's common knowledge. But that weekend in 22 was the same weekend of the National Sports Card Show, and it was in Atlantic City. So I'm working full time at a card shop that week. So I did not ask about working the show. I didn't know any of the inside baseball as to who, what, when, where, why, nothing. So about 3 weeks before I get a text message from Conrad saying, hey, he's like, would you be available to come in and work Ric Flair's last match show? And I just got home from work on a Sunday, and I was like, what? And my wife looks at me. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, Conrad just asked me if I'd work Flair's retirement show. And she's like, when is it? I said, the weekend of the National. And I was like, oh boy. So called the boss at the card shop, because I'm only one of two people that was staying behind to work the shop that week. Everybody else was going to Atlantic City, and they all drive. So they weren't going to be back till mid the following week anyway. So I called the boss and I said, hey, I was like, we need to talk. He's like, what's up? I said, just got an offer to work Flair's retirement show. And he's like, what? I was like, you heard me, because my boss, how my boss and I at the card shop met, long story short, he's a massive wrestling fan. Ryan Bannister, RBI Crew 7, St. Peters, Missouri. Massive wrestling fan. So I told him, I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not kidding on this. And he's like, did they reach out to you? I was like, yeah. He's like, when is it? I said, weekend of the National. And he's like, you're kidding. I said, nope. I said, I wish it wasn't, but it is. So basically I said that he's like, there's one person that's not going to Atlantic City that I would trust working in place of you. He says, yes. He's like, you're good. And so that guy was a wrestling fan too. So all I needed to say was, here's the opportunity. You mind covering for me? And I was like, he's like, sure. He's like, I'll give you a case of beer for doing it. He's like, how about a good bottle of bourbon? I was like, done. So I literally
did he hit you up to get him any merch?
No, I just got him a good bottle of bourbon on the way back.
There you go.
But no, so I worked the day before the show until like, that's a Saturday. So I got out of there about 5:30ish, but like full day on Saturday. Turn around. I got up and left my house at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, drove straight to the auditorium in Nashville, about 5 hours from me, five and a half. We did the show. And then as soon as we were done, it was an about face back, because I worked Mondays and I had to be at work at 9 a.m. on Monday. Otherwise I would have stayed. I would have come down for StarCast. I would have come down for the whole thing. Had that been any other weekend in the world, I'd have come down for more than just that one day. But yeah, that that day was wild. That day was wild. That day was amazing. Like it was.
I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Me too. Me too. I actually have it's in my other room. I'm gonna shadow box it eventually. I know yours is up. I got the shirt and the lanyard, the all access that I'm gonna eventually put up here in the studio. I'm gonna do some kind of renovations here in the studio here in the spring, and I'm gonna put it up there with it finally, and give it the place it deserves.
Cool.
For working that
so
night.
How you mentioned that you were already working at the card shop in 2022. So
Yep.
when did cards become?
She's froze up.
Yep. I think I know where she's going with
Did I
it.
get
Yeah.
lost?
Nope. Nope. There you are. So I think, nope. Can you hear me?
Are you with us, Amy? Nope,
Nope.
she's gone. I think she was asking
How
what
did
led
I-
up to that.
Yeah. So I collected a little bit as a kid, and then a little bit in high school. My uncle is retired military, Army. So a lot of times I'd get cards from PX from him. So I collected on and off a little bit. And then I had known that I had seen kind of upswing basically. I'd seen kind of the upswing on cards going into the pandemic. And as my schedule, because at that point, 19 and all that, I was pretty much on the road almost full time because I was doing TNA and Evolve at the same time. I was working for both companies all the way up to the end of 2019. So I was dabbling into it a little more because you could see how it was being treated a little differently, more as an actual investment vehicle versus just something you collect. If you don't like it, you put it in the spokes of your bike like our parents did. I can't tell you how many people that now realize that they had the middle 50s or the early 50s cards in the spokes of their bikes. And now, especially that Mantle, the Mantle rookie, the 52 Bowman.
Ooh.
Oh, there's no telling. I probably had a Nolan Ryan rookie card in mine.
Even like Pete Rose's now. So basically what happened is I was already starting to kind of get back into collecting again. Great picture, by the way. Oh man, great picture of all of us there.
I was trying to load it, but the internet wasn't, and Amy falling out just kind of stepped on it. But.
Great picture. I still say I said it to Conrad. We'll sidebar for a sec. I said it to Conrad when we were there that afternoon. Once again, I'll be 40 this year, and I grew up in the 80s watching Jim Crockett promotions. And I told him, I was like, if you'd have told 10-year-old me that you'd be working for one night, you'd be working for Jim Crockett promotions, like there's no way. It's like, what's going on? Like there's still the surrealness of working for Crockett, and
it
JCP.
was a legitimate Jim Crockett promotion.
Yeah. No,
it was
one night, the last night, one night with JCP, like, working for Crockett, it was phenomenal. So yeah, amazing to this day. Like I have a folder in my computer. I have all that stuff saved too. It's stuff I will cherish with me as long as I'm on this earth.
There's six of us that can say that we got to work for Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yeah. Kyoto
included.
Yeah. I know it's wild because Kyoto at that point was already was solidly with Vince.
Yeah.
At that point. So cards were on the come up pre-pandemic. Once we got to the pandemic, though, the pandemic was really the first time that I had the ability to try to learn some new skills, stuff that I'd want to do. Because I really, to that point, had never been home for the amount of time that we were home for during the pandemic in my entire adult life, because I was doing the indies along with working, along with, everything else I was doing. I was on the road three weekends a month minimum from 2017 all the way to the pandemic. Like I was pretty much making a living off of the wrestling business between that and then doing international tours when I wanted to, because I was still an independent contractor. I wasn't on paper to either TNA or Evolve at the time. I was able to, that's why I was like, the way I put it, I think I said it last night on my stream. I was walking through the forbidden door before going through the forbidden door was cool. Like I was doing all that at the same time. Evolve was doing all that stuff with NXT, and then we did the that stuff. I was doing Impact/TNA TV at the same time. So I was double dipping. I mean, I remember in 19 and one weekend I did Slammiversary and officiated the Impact World Title match, and then the next week was on the WWE Network with officiating an NXT title match on Evolve 131, the network special. So Forbidden Door, I was doing the Forbidden Door long before everybody wanted to cross through the Forbidden Door. But cards were on the come up going into it. So once we got to the pandemic, I started picking up some new skills that I think I knew that maybe for a life after wrestling that's not in the ring. Like I'm thinking a couple steps ahead here. So I wanted to teach myself graphics and video editing. And that's kind of how the germination of Top of the Card came up. The breaking that I do now for sports cards as my full-time job, I was a lot of that because I try to bring a lot of the TV elements into what I do for sports cards, which is not really what anyone thinks about. You know, a lot of the polished look, things like that, whether it's commercials, all that sort of stuff. Like I kind of bring that TV mentality to it. So I was teaching myself how to do that. And as we were coming out of the pandemic, the schedule for TNA was not coming back as quick for obvious reasons. Everybody was taking their time coming back. So I was like, all right, well, I need to pick up a part-time job to kind of bridge the gap there for a while. So the shop that I'm at now, I started as a customer, just buying boxes to shoot content with, rip for me personally, that sort of thing during the pandemic. And so it was more of a YOLO situation. Go see if he's hiring. So I went up to him and had a conversation, and he knew enough about me. We'd had enough of a relationship that he just kind of rolled the dice with me and said, sure. And so I started a couple of days a week, but by early 22, I was full-time 50 hours a week on salary for him. By 22, it just kind of expanded as the shop expanded, and as the needs were there. And now I've scaled back because my business is taken over now, and I'm still there part-time, but that's kind of how I kind of morphed into that. They're a great group of people. You know, it's like my hobby family there. You know, I'm glad they're very well known throughout the industry for the business they do. It was a great pairing. You know, a lot of you know, the way I kind of approach business, he does too. And you know, we're getting ready to move into a new building, probably coming up before the summer, his dream shop basically. And, you know, it's to see it grow to where it is now. It's great. It's a great thing to see. And we're all wrestling fans. Like he went to the Royal Rumble last week, you know? So while we were in Huntsville and we were watching SmackDown after TGR, he was in the crowd at SmackDown and then went to the Rumble at Lucas Oil. So diehard wrestling fans, the majority of them are. So there's a kindredness there across the board with all of us. So that's kind of how the world's kind of merged together a little bit. It's amazing. And I say this, how things in life happen for a reason. So,
Hey, Darian Staley's got a question, and
sure.
I'm not sure that I understand it. What about card saturation? By that, I mean fake rarity. You know what he means?
Yeah, card saturation, it's different now than when it was from when we were kids or when our parents, you know, when our parents were kids. The hobby market is looked at a lot differently. And what I mean by that is it used to be like we had what was called the junk wax era in the 90s, in the late 80s, early 90s, anything from about 88 through the 90s. Basically, they printed so much of it that basically that a lot of them are not worth anything. Like, you know, they're worth more as kindling to start a fire than there is any kind of a collectible value to them. There are exceptions to the rule. Barry Bonds' rookie card in the early 90s. You got Derek Jeter's rookie card in 92, Mariano Rivera. A lot of your Hall of Famers from baseball, there's value in them, but there's not a lot else that exists. So nowadays with the hobby, it's a little bit of a different story, whereas you're looking for, they're printing more, or they're printing almost as much now. Comparative to the early 90s. The difference is the autographs or your parallels that are numbered, that there's only so many of them, or your relics, whether they're game used or things of that nature. That is really creating the market now versus the market scenario that we had in the early 90s. So that is where the difference lies, because there's more products now than there ever has been made. And a lot of it surrounds to people want the game used artifacts, you know what I mean? What, you know, or they want the autographs of the rookie autographs. They didn't do that stuff in the 90s. It was literally just the base card and that's it. No autographs. Like if you had to get it autographed, you had to meet them and get it autographed.
Right.
We're in a way different environment for the hobby now than we were in the 90s. So there's not necessarily a fake rarity. It's just the angle for the hobby as a whole has changed because of the availability of companies like Fanatics to get people to actually sign these, and they're authentic. They're backed by Topps or Fanatics or whoever's, you know, the maker of them, Upper Deck, whatever the case may be. That's where your market is now versus what the market was in the 90s.
So I have a really weird question, just real quick. I'm sorry.
Sure. No.
So it's about going back to the card shop that you work at.
Yep.
So like, do people there kind of have specialties? Like, are you you're the wrestling card specialty? Is there like a person that does like baseball cards, or do you all just kind of I guess I'm just not. I just
no. You're fine. There's some guys that have more knowledge in some different sports than others. Like when I was there, when I was actually there working in front of customers, I was the baseball guy. Like I know the prospects, I knew the prospects and stuff like that. You know, it's easy to find values, but subject matter expert, I was more of being able to keep up on the pulse of baseball because I watched it. I'm a lifelong baseball fan. So we had guys that collected football or basketball, you know, more than baseball. Or there was one guy there who's a hockey guy. So he would do hockey or stuff like that. None of us really know a lot about Pokemon, but you know, that we do Pokemon too. So we have to learn about it. But we all could answer a lot of questions in generality.
Right.
You know, but you know, specifics. I mean, we all kind of know, okay, here are the rookies for baseball this year, the big rookies you're looking after. You know, where I kind of got leaned on was more for your prospecting. So your kids that had just gotten signed or just gotten drafted out of the MLB draft who are in the minors. I knew more about that because I delved more into that because baseball was really kind of my meat and potatoes for my collecting. Wrestling, we all kind of knew a generality about wrestling. Wrestling is treated a little differently than the other sports because of the fact that there is no minor league system or no collegiate system. Even with this whole NIL thing now, it still doesn't even qualify, you know, to anything like that. So wrestling's kind of in its own bucket per se for how it's looked at. You know, and a lot of collectors now with the new Topps Chrome WWE are kind of finding that out. You can't treat wrestling, especially from a valuation standpoint, like you treat baseball or football or basketball or really any of the other sports that matter. We're finding that out as we go along here. So yeah, you kind of got to know a little bit about everything. You know, but we have guys, especially for customers that are trying to want to know more about a potential value for a card or why this is the way it is. Yeah, we had guys that basically can almost act as subject matter experts, you know? So, but even for me, like my business has grown so much, like we just had the new Series 1 baseball drop this past week. And even I was like, I need to catch up and figure out who are we looking at this year? Like I knew who they were once I saw a list. I was like, okay, cool. I got this. You know what I mean? And then you can kind of go from there over time, basically.
Cool. I think.
Well,
Dave, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're right. Let's test your knowledge a little bit. I picked a few cards out of our box.
Yeah. So that is okay. So that's the Sting. I got you. That's the Sting World Heavyweight Title Medallion Relic Auto. So that's got a Hit Parade logo on it. So that came from Hit Parade, which is it's a repack box. But that I think is 2017.
2017.
2017.
And this one's number 43 of 50.
Yep. So number to 50. So the gold. So what delineates it as to 50 is that gold border around the world heavyweight title. Is what it is. So basically that's just a commemorative medallion that they had made in the design of the World Heavyweight Championship, and then Sting signed stickers for it. So yeah, I was close. I was in the ballpark. That 15 to 17, 18 kind of runs together in terms of design. So I like those. Like a lot of people now, as the wrestling hobby has basically exploded in the past 2.5, 3 years. People are revisiting some of those older sets. So hopefully eventually with top of the card, we'll get there. So we'll get there eventually.
I want to say I won that. I won that on a drawing, being in a whatnot auction.
Okay.
In a room. I think it was just like a prize, but just the fact, well, it's got the big gold belt. So I like it.
Yep.
But just having Sting's autograph.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. At that point, Sting didn't sign a whole lot from a card standpoint. He signed more now. Obviously, and then he was in a lot of the AEW products that have been out recently through Upper Deck. So yeah, I like those middle teens and stuff. So okay.
So if I was going to sell that, what do you think's fair?
Let me see. Because basically I use what everyone else uses. I use eBay. eBay basically will give you real-time stats. Like if something sells a minute ago, I can see it within 5 minutes, basically.
Oh, cool.
So you said 2017. Hold on. 2017 Topps WWE Sting. Let's see. Pull it up on the other screen here. So the number to 50, the only one that's sold recently was a PSA 9. So, well, it's a shirt, not the belt. Okay, cool. The number to 25 of that. So you got number to 50. So the number to 25, so less of them. Last sale was about a month ago for about $125.
Yeah.
So probably good $100 for that, which isn't bad for that, to be honest with you.
So let me ask you, because I know he said, so there's only 50 of those made, correct? And he has number 43. Does that make a difference in the selling world if he had one of 50, like if he had the first one versus number 18 of 50? Does that matter at all?
For wrestling, no. For other sports, it can if it's a jersey number, basically. If it's their jersey number, so like Caleb Williams, the Chicago Bears is number 18. If you get 18 of whatever, it could potentially, no guarantee towards it.
Gotcha.
But from a wrestling standpoint, not really.
I gotcha. Okay.
And here's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's the 2020. That's 2022, right? Look at the very bottom in the center of that card.
I'm trying.
It's impeccable.
Even with my glasses on.
Yeah, that's impeccable WWE. That's the Brett Silver bar.
Yeah, I believe that's 2022.
Yeah, 2022 Panini WWE impeccable Bret Hart silver bar. So that's actually like 1 ounce of shoot silver in that card.
Yeah,
1 ounce of shoot silver, and that's numbered to 35 for the
Where
Bret.
did you get that, Pondwater?
That's a great
auction.
That's a great.
Oh, okay.
It is actually number 35 of 35.
35 of 35. Yeah, those silver bar cards can be worth a lot. And then there's the 101, which is actually gold, which is actually 1 ounce gold. That's in that. Becky Lynch, that's Chronicles. 2022 Chronicles. That's just the base, I think.
No, this is numbered 84 of 99.
What did they make? Oh, it's the blue. Okay, the blue on the Chronicles is where I can't see it.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's Panini Chronicles, which is kind of like one of their coverall sets that if they don't make a specific release of something, they'll put it all together, all the other brands they have together and licenses together and call it Chronicles, basically.
Adam B asked in the chat, he says, book in numbers don't carry a premium ?
Not necessarily, no. Not for wrestling, at least.
Not for wrestling, okay.
Yeah, not for wrestling. They can potentially. Bobby, okay, for someone getting started in card collecting, where do you start in wrestling? Well, it's really going to depend because there's a few different avenues you can take towards it. So it depends on, you want to ask yourself, you want to set yourself a budget, first of all, because this hobby can get very expensive very quick. So you want to determine a budget. First of all, you want to determine, do you want to collect one wrestler specifically, or are you trying just to collect whomever? Because there are a lot of people that will say, okay, I PC X wrestler, you know, and then that kind of will determine, do you want to start collecting the vintage wrestling that's out there if they have cards in the vintage realm, or can you just start with newer stuff? So that's the questions I would address first, and I would stick to it out of the gate.
What would you recommend? Would you recommend maybe honing in on a particular wrestler to begin with and like work your way up? Because like you said, you could buy $50,000 probably.
Yeah. It depends on if you're going to stick with one wrestler, or are you trying to try some of the newer stuff? It really depends on what, you know, because I always say collect what you like, you know. So like, you know, if Pondwater didn't have any cards, I would say, well, you're a Flair guy, so go into Flair. You know, Flair's not any of the new stuff because he has an exclusive deal with Leaf Trading Cards. So okay, cool. So you don't really need to buy any of the new stuff that's out. He's not in any of it. So then I could say to you, okay, let's start going back and let's go into the vintage stuff. Now it's going to be more expensive up front because Flair's vintage stuff does very good money, and I mean very good money. But it really kind of narrows down. Okay, you went from this now down to, okay, I just got to do this much. You know what I mean? And then you can, you know, take your money that way for it, you know, and go after. He still signs a lot of autographs for Leaf. He's in a lot of Leaf stuff. Rick is. I've ripped some of it for top of the card. I have a couple of them behind me on my wall from that Leaf Legends wrestling set last year. So it just really depends. You kind of figure, okay, who do you really want to collect? Are you trying to collect autos of just all the guys or one guy? Or once you kind of figure that out, then determine what your budget is. And then that kind of helps whittle it down basically. That's how you want to do. Like me personally, I don't collect one wrestler in particular. I really I look for stuff that I see value in that nobody doesn't. So I went after a lot of insert sets and stuff like that in the old Panini license over the last 3 years. And then I went for a lot of the case hits and stuff like that. They're going to cost me more up front, but I wanted them because I also collect football lightly, and I wanted the case hits that football made, but for wrestling, you know. And
what are case hits? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
No, that's fine. They're what we call short print, basically. Like there's only one of them a case over an entire case of cards. So they're very short printed. They're not numbered or anything, but they're harder to get. But they're going to cost you more up front if you're going to get them. So I went that route, and then I also try on the low key to collect like cards or autograph cards of guys that I've worked with before. 2022 select ringside action signature Charlotte auto.
Right.
I actually have one of the auto relics from that.
See, we like getting autographs. We like getting the relics.
Yep. Yeah, Panini did a real good job with that. Origins. So that would have been from Chronicles as well. Origins is one of the Chronicles inserts. That's either 22 or 23. Those are the only 2 years that we had Chronicles under the Panini license. We didn't get a 24 before the license. And
here's Alicia Fox with a piece of her shirt.
Yep. Yeah. Top.
A worn shirt relic card. There was 199 of them.
Yeah.
I got number 82.
Yeah. I don't know what year that is. But
it's way too small.
Way too small. Yeah. The old Topps license. So you really got to make those decisions up front before you really dive into it. And then a good old Tony Schiavone Spectrum.
Number 8 of 25.
Yep. Yes. Yes. From Black Diamond, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is what that's from. So,
and there's only 25 of those printed. So that's pretty, I would think that was pretty elusive.
It's an upper deck.
It's upper deck, but they also make other parallels lower than that. So there's for like that Spectrum one, there's probably a number to 10, and then there's like a 101. Oh. So, so it's the present. So, Origins, William Regal auto.
And then I don't even know who A Kid is. And I apologize to A Kid.
A Kid was with NXT UK when they launched the NXT UK brand. So that would have been 2020. the 2020 Panini NXT set rookie auto from him.
And then my wife's favorite.
Otis.
My wife loves her some Otis.
I pulled the number to 10 auto of Otis when we were at the Top Guy Rumble. That was one of the big autos we pulled from when we opened those boxes there. Yep. Gable. Yeah, Gable's stuff, man. Just everyone thought that Gable, obviously, we all thought kind of Gable was going to be the next big thing, but now that Gable's not even in the business anymore.
There's only 49 of those.
Yeah. So now
that make it more like, okay. So like Gable is, he's not even, or even that NXT UK, that doesn't even exist anymore. Does that end up making the cards maybe more worth or less because they're not even in, I mean, like I said, there's no more NXT UK, but
it really depends on the talent, to be honest. So like in A Kid's case, and I'll answer this question from Bobby here in a sec.
Okay.
In A Kid and Gable's case, no, because Gable is not in the business anymore.
Right.
Now there may be collectors that will collect him like from an Olympic standpoint because he's back wrestling again at the University of Minnesota. So if he wins the NCAA heavyweight championship this year, or let's say he makes a run for the Olympics again, like there, you could see a small bump based off of those accomplishments.
I gotcha.
But that's, there's no guarantee towards it. So
right. So like if you pulled it, hold on, but don't try to buy it now. Is that what you're saying?
Unless there's people that collect them, and if so, great, get them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from it. It's just kind of the nature. It's a buy the rumor, sell the news, basically. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
And then to answer the question from Bobby, once a talent passes, there are definitely the price on those cards can definitely go up. It's more of a long term, once again, kind of a supply and demand. It'll be interesting to see what happens with a lot of the talent we have now, even the legends we have now, because they've signed a lot in recent years. But like Iron Sheik, or anything like that. Like I've got, behind me on my wall, I've got a Razor Ramon auto card from 2015 Topps. Undisputed. He didn't sign a whole, there's not a lot of cards signed as Razor Ramon, but like in that same set though contained Bruno Sammartino, who signed. Bruno barely ever signed anything card related. There's not a lot out there that was actually licensed. So there are some that will hold value, especially as we go through time and we go through the years. And so that will be just more of a supply and demand issue. Once we get to that point. But yeah, there can be, long story short, for a talent that's no longer with us.
And that makes sense because, like you said, number one, that autograph, I mean, it's not going to be able to happen again because they're not here. And in the case of someone like a Bray Wyatt who suddenly passes, like there's not even a whole lot out from him because, he was only on the bit, whatever. He was only in the business 10 years versus, maybe like a Harley Race who, was in his 80s when he passed. But I mean,
but there's also there's also a demand issue to it. Like Bray was also on TV full time.
Sure.
Before he passed. And Bray had a lot of fans. So there's automatically, you've created the demand because everybody wants it. Now you don't have it. And it's not one of those things where we had, it's like that where we didn't have it. Even in someone like Harley's case, like Harley didn't sign a lot of cards either. That's the whole thing is we're catching up, with when it comes to cards and stuff now, because until Topps had it in the 2000, in the 2010s and up until 2022, Panini had it for 3 years. Now Topps has it back again, but they were not doing what they're doing now. And treating the WWE license like they were in those years gone by. So for a lot of the guys, I'll give you a good example. And I'll use Sting as the example. Like Sting's rookie card is the 1998 NWA Wanderama. It's the only JCP trading card set that was created during the JCP era. Awesome. Well, there's no such thing as a Sting rookie auto in that set, because they didn't do autographs back in 88 like that. They didn't do it in any sport.
So that Sting card in that box is his rookie card.
No, I actually hold on. I've got one here because it's with top of the card. We actually did a video on the NWA Wanderama that's up on the Patreon, and I actually went through and got a few of them autographed. I had a buddy of mine that went to C2E2 last year, and Sting was up there signing, so I just gave him the money for it because he was going up there, and he got Sting to sign him. I turned around, I got him graded and authenticated, so I have actually
but the Wanderama box set, that Sting card in there is his first trading card.
Yes.
Because I've got that whole box set.
Yes, hold on. I'll show you.
Basically,
we're gonna have Brandon back over. We're gonna
basically, it was screen captures off of their videos for the pictures.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I got them in a box. It's like 188.
This is the top of the card case. Like a lot of the ones I've gotten graded for top of the card for Conrad and I, because basically I'm helping Conrad build the vintage collection for him. So,
Pondwater, you look at this setup. You got yours just thrown in a box somewhere. He's got it all like heavy duty.
I got mine in a Reebok box.
I have and I have insurance on everything in my studio too.
Then there's a shoebox that Stephanie has all of her baseball and football cards in.
So
and that box is vintage.
So that is the 1998
wow.
NWA. That is Sting's rookie card.
And you have that one too, Pondwater, right?
I do have that card.
So awesome. Yes, so Sting's rookie from the NWA Wanderama 88 set. So I have one, I think it was 3 of them I gave my buddy. 1, 2, yeah.
One. Pondwater would need to get it. Oh, look at you. Pondwater
I just put some of them in that card thing. Those are all Wanderama. So
yeah, that Wanderama set, it just never really.
Oh, there it is. There it is right there.
Yeah. No, that's the purple one. This one, he's in green tights on this one. So there's multiple ones in there. So you have to see what carries from a value standpoint. So this was card number 17. So this is probably the first one in the set. So we got our card 17 there on the back. Put on my camera there. Card 17. Okay. So basically Sting's rookie, and then I got 3 of them all signed and got them graded. So they're all PSA 8 and they're auto 10. So Gem Min auto. So basically I just had a buddy of mine who works at the shop who was going to C2E2 because AEW was sending some of the talent up there and Sting was one of them. So I told him I had just done the video and I said to him, I was like, can you, I'll give you the money to get them paid, like to get them signed. Like, can you just get them signed? He's like, sure. So now I've got 3 Sting rookie autos in the collection. In my top of the card collection, because that's the stuff you have to go back through, to really work on. And like another one that I got, and we're going to do a video on this probably soon for Patreon, for the ad-free Patreon.
Brandon does a show on AFS called Top of the Card, but he also, but his main thing that he does is Midwest box breaks.
Yes, Midwest box breaks on District and then top of the card as well. So this is one I got at the National last year in Chicago. So one of the videos we're going to do coming up soon, spoiler alert, is the 1991 classic WWF cards. Now the chase for it is the 91 classic is Undertaker's rookie. So I got this in a deal with someone last year, but it is the 91 classic. It is Undertaker's rookie autographed.
Nice.
And got it. And it's been authenticated at PSA as an authentic autograph. So, we're going to go Undertaker rookie hunting, on a future top of the card coming up soon. Me and Conrad, we're going to dive in. He found a box of the 91 classic and we're going to go Undertaker rookie hunting. And then, I'm going to walk everybody through how I do grading, because we're going to get them all graded basically.
Nice.
But I'm sitting on a nice stack of Bret Hart rookies from 87, like all those guys between 82 and 82, 87, 88, 89 is all their rookies. And there's no rookie autographs because they didn't do it. So that's it. So for you, Dave, if you're going for Flair, I'd be like, okay, you need to go back to the 82 Wrestling All-Stars, the very first wrestling card set that was ever created. And Flair's got a card in there. I've got a framed on the wall. It's one of them autographed, and
The cards on there autographed, and there's a picture of Flair in one of his robes.
Yeah, there's big money. I'll give you an example. So let's see, Wrestling All Stars. So for Flair, Wrestling All Stars, Ric Flair.
The bad news is I probably can't remove it from the plaque without destroying the card.
So to give you an idea, for Flair, his that Wrestling All Stars card, because it's hard to get those cards in good condition nowadays because
there's so many fakes out there too.
Yeah, the 82 is there is a reprint set of the 82 out there, but they also those were not like properly packaged. You actually had to mail order away for those card sets. There was actually an order form in one of the Apter mags in 82. You had to send away to Mankato, Minnesota to get those cards. So a PSA 4. So if you think of a scale, 1 being basically, beat to what, to 10 being pristine condition, there was one that sold as a PSA 4. It's autographed. Auto's got a 9 out of 10 grade on it. That sold for $1,600.
Man, and it was a 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Brandon, you're going to have to come back on here with us because I know I talked to you for probably 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I talked about, got tussle about things.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got 50,000 more questions for you, but I know we have to break. I know you have cards for us to open.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So I've got, let me move these real quick here. Let me move the case off here.
Let me ask you this.
We should have brought him in for hour 1.
Well, yeah.
Well, the biggest thing.
Where do you find, like, seriously, like, are you going to like auctions? Like, where would you find any of these cards?
It just depends on who you're looking for. Like, I mean, like for the Flair one, eBay, or just I'm on social media, at Ref Brandon Tolle on Twitter, Referee Brandon Tolle on Instagram. It's basically as you get into the community, you just kind of know people that have it. I mean, that 82 Wrestling All Stars one. So fun fact, I think I said it in the video, the very first top of the card, which was about 2 years ago in 23. I actually had the Series A set on the video. And the only reason I had that was there was a customer at the shop who's one of my boss's longtime regulars who actually had that entire Series A set that he got at a local show here in St. Louis about 15 years ago. And he got it for like $30. Like, they're all ungraded, but the guy literally trusted me and let me borrow the set to do the video, because finding a complete set like that now, A, is almost impossible, and B, to try to buy one of those, you'd be looking at probably $10,000.
Right.
Yeah, a guy named David Peck is always posted about those, and he's got a lot of Hogans. He's got a lot of Flairs.
Yeah,
he's probably got more of them than anybody that I know of. But.
Right.
David Peck was one of the OG guys for that set back before the boom in 19. Like, he was collecting those in the 2010s. And all that. So yeah, kudos to him, because he's got a small fortune in those cards. It's insane. I've seen it. So let me bring up. So we've got,
and I see y'all's questions I see a lot of y'all's questions, and we'll get to them if we can.
Yep.
I'm not ignoring y'all.
Nope. If not, I mean, hit me up on social media at Ref Brandon Tolle, or at Top of Card is the Top of the Card Twitter. But I got 2 packs of 2025 Topps Chrome WWE. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring over, you guys are just going to see my break mat here that I normally break on. And I'm working, so I apologize for the glare in advance. So we're going to rip 2 packs here and see how we do. Okay.
Ladies first.
Which one? Left or right, Amy?
I'm left-handed. Let's go left.
Left it is. All right. Here we go.
This is so exciting.
Maybe you'll get a great Muda card, Amy.
Fuck you.
All right. So, well, this looks to be, just kind of scanning it, that looks to be a gold to 50 right there. So
is that good?
Parallel number to 50. We'll see. We got Malik Blade, Axiom, Wolfgang from Gallus, Danny Palmer from NXT, and this is what we call Pink Shimmer. It's a parallel non-numbered. We're going to save this.
Yes,
we're going to save this. My time is now. This is an insert that they put in Topps Chrome this year, basically to honor John Cena, since this is his last year in the business. There's a bunch of these with different pictures on it. Let's see here. Aladon, and then Carmella Hayes from SmackDown. So
Like
now this is
it.
going to tell us what we have here. So this is going to be, that's not bad. Michin from SmackDown. And that is a gold parallel to 50, 9 of 50. So
Awesome.
not bad. I got top loaders and penny sleeves right here
Such a
because we top
professional.
loaded. Oh yeah, of course.
course.
So gold, when you're looking at valuations on cards, not only do
Ooh,
you
I
look
just
at
learned something. Before you put it in you put it in
penny sleeve. We call it penny sleeve. Yes, because this is a chrome surface, so this will scratch the surface of the card.
That's
So
good to know.
this is a thin plastic that basically protects the surface of the card. So this protects the surface. Then what we call a top loader, basically you can see how there's edges around it from where they created it. It protects the corners from getting dinged or banged around or anything like that. Basically to protect the card on the edges and all that. So once again, if you treat it like it's an investment. So Michin gold to 50. This is yours, Dave. Let's see here. Let's see what we do here.
Dave gets.
All right. So we've got AJ Styles.
Oh, lucky.
Lash Legend.
Big fan.
Sonya Deville.
Big fan.
Shayna Baszler Refractor. Blair Davenport, and this is what we call a prism. Basically, it looks, you got the little squares. We call prism, non-numbered parallel.
Well, let me ask you this, because two of those cards, they're not even there anymore. Sonya Deville and Blair Davenport are gone.
Yep.
Does that do anything?
I mean, it may from the auto standpoint, because it'll be the only autos they have. So, and you never know what they may do too. They may end up in other companies too. So there may be more autos of them in the future, just not under the WWE licenses, obviously.
Gotcha.
So this is an insert set called Paradigm. Drew McIntyre, Drew giving Gunther the Claymore, and then Akira Tozawa and Nikita Lyons for the last two for that. So I'd say if we were doing a pack war, Amy wins because Amy ain't got the parallel. The Michin gold to 50. So now if you guys want to see something really cool, I actually pulled this last night on my break stream last night, because I've been doing Topps Chrome WWE breaks for ever since it came out. And I do them cheap too. Hold on, let me take this here. I'll bring you back over here. I'll show you this. So this I pulled last night, and we pulled our third Rock Auto.
Oh,
wow.
Last night. It is the Rock Retrospective base auto.
Now you pulled a Rock Auto at Top Guy Weekend, right?
No, I didn't. We were looking for one. I pulled one the day after when I came home, and I was doing breaks during my Royal Rumble watch along. We pulled a Rock Auto there, and then a week ago Tuesday I pulled my second one, and then last night I pulled my third one in a break for a customer. So we've pulled 3 Rock Autos now, 2 in the last week. So this card right here, valuation on it, and it's just the base one's about $2,500.
Oh my!
Yeah,
the Rock didn't sign a lot of stuff.
No, Rock didn't sign a lot. Rock doesn't have a lot signed. Hopefully, we'll have him in more products as time goes on with the license. But with these being the first ones and all that, I mean, even if there's more in the future, there's going to be, once again, supply and demand, because the last autos that the Rock signed prior to this set was in 1998. So almost 28 years, 27 years. So he hadn't signed at all. So they're going to be, and obviously The Rock is a generational talent, inside and outside of wrestling and Hollywood. He just doesn't sign a lot, period. His stuff will command, especially signed as The Rock, will command a lot of money with it. So as the collector, for me, even for me long term, my goal is to own one of these at some point. Because as a collector, for me, I want a Rock Auto, period. Any way you slice it. Just because I know what they're worth. I know how hard they are to pull. And I watch the Attitude Era just like everybody else, Right. So
but you have
that
3,
is so cool.
But they're not yours. Is that what you're saying?
No. So basically what I do is I take like a box or 2 boxes or however many I have of whatever Topps Chrome. I'll make the determination of it. And basically I look at the checklist. So the checklist for Topps Chrome WWE has about 250 different talent in it. And that includes all the main roster people, NXT, legends, Rock is in it, obviously, as a legend. And so I go through the actual checklist, because you get it as like an Excel spreadsheet, basically. And I go through and I pull out, okay, see how many talent there are. What I like to do, because I try to create value for the breaks that I do. So what I do is basically I took the checklist and created 20 spots with the checklist. And each spot has between 12 and 13 different wrestlers or talent, whether they're managers, whether they're male, female legends, whatever. And I make it make sense. So like if you're getting the Roman Reigns spot, you're going to get the entire bloodline, basically.
Right,
so Roman, Solo, Jimmy, Jay, Tama Tonga, you know what I mean? You're going to get all of them. And then like I have like a Hulk Hogan spot, and the Hogan spot basically is going to be for a lot of the 80s fans that collect Hogan. You're going to get a lot of the 80s guys with them, and there may be some newer talent in there too, but they make sense. You know what I mean? And I kind of, I weight them because, who may have autos in the set, who may not have autos in the set. But basically the way I look at it is trying to create value to where, okay, well, if you don't hit a Roman Reigns auto, let's say you hit a Jacob Fatu auto. Jacob Fatu auto is going to be very good too. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to create more value to where you may not get what you want, but you may get something that offsets the cost of it, instead of going all your eggs into one basket. Because a lot of people will pick your wrestler, and if that wrestler doesn't hit an auto over how many boxes, then you don't get an auto. Like you skunked. It's a little gambling in some ways, you know what I mean? And I try to lessen that kind of burden. I don't want to say burden. I try to lessen that a little bit and bring more value to what I do. So the Rock spot for this was one of the most, I think the most expensive spot I carry in a lot of my breaks. But for this one, actually, I did it to where I did 2 hobby boxes of Topps Chrome WWE and did it a random team, so a random spot. So I have an online randomizer. I put all the names in the randomizer, randomize them up, put all the spot names in there, randomize them up, and it was $39 for one of those 20 spots. So someone got this Rock auto for $39 instead of paying thousands of dollars through other breakers online, because they're selling at such a huge markup that it's ridiculous. And I'm not trying to dump on it. I'm just calling it the way it is. I try to do value for what I do because I want to create a community, just like we have with Adfree, just like we have in the hobby. I want to create and foster the community with it. And I don't want money to be a barrier to entry. But I also want to make it so if you don't hit what you want, because that's just kind of the way it works. It's like gambling a little bit, but you can hit something that could more than pay for the spot as well. You know what I mean? And maximize the money that you're spending on it, because not everyone can spend. I mean, these hobby boxes. So, hobby boxes of this right now are going for 335,
360 is what I found locally.
Yeah, I think we have it at like 340 at the shop. The Breaker's Delight. This one came from a Breaker's Delight box. The Breaker's Delight box for this one is going for about $450 a box. So I look at that and I say, okay, not everybody can afford that. So how can I make it to where it's affordable for the average wrestling collector or the average wrestling fan to participate? Because I want all wrestling fans to participate. The more, the merrier with it. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you. You said hobby box, so we're talking about. Does the Chrome come in a different? Like AEW used to have 2 levels of box.
Yeah. So no, it's what we call just it's called a hobby. So that's called a hobby box too. Okay. So it's just a box of cards basically. So like Chrome WWE has 12 packs in a box. So the AEW one, even there may be 2 levels, there's still probably 8 to 12 packs in that box, maybe more, depending on the set. It's what we call a hobby box. It's all the same across.
Okay.
So, but for Topps Chrome, that box, 12 packs for $360, we were just saying a minute ago. You know what I mean? If I can say, hey, I can get you 12 to 13 talent over 2 boxes for under $40 before taxes. Like, you know what I mean? Trying to create the value there. That's what that's what I'm trying to do, you know, and create that community within the wrestling fans, you know, because it you know, people like cards, you know what I mean? People may not collect or may have never collected before. And that's one thing I've seen a lot of since Chrome WWE come out is either fans that have never collected before that want to start collecting because they've seen the commercials on Raw on Netflix or on Friday Night SmackDown, or lapsed collectors, like old school fans that have collected cards years gone by or all that, and just saw it and want to get back into it. I can't tell you, I had someone talk to me last week that's been in a bunch of my breaks that I've done since it came out. And they're like, I never thought I'd be spending this money on wrestling cards before, ever. Like, and it's a baseball guy. He's a baseball guy too. You know,
before you came on that, I mean, when AEW came out with their cards, my wife got into it, and she wasn't like, had the checklist, and she's trying to collect. I mean, broken down by colors. She was trying to get them all.
I'll tell you the one product from AEW, because I have a box of AEW I'm going to rip for top of the card as well, coming up soon. There's a product that's going to come out this summer. So I'm going to give you, I don't want to say inside baseball, but something to look for. It's called Skybox Metal Universe. They did it in 2022 and they haven't done it again since. The 2025 version of it will come out, I think, in mid to late July, probably right after StarCast. There's a set within Skybox Metal. It's what we call a PMG, Precious Metal Gems. It is a super short printed card within Skybox. You're not guaranteed to get it a box, but the value of those PMGs can be a good amount of money. Like, I actually have an MJF PMG in my collection from the first set in 22. They come in 3 different parallels. There's one that's numbered to 100, which is red. There's the green one, which is numbered to 10. And then there's the gold 1 of 1. The red 100 on MJF, last time I checked, I haven't looked in about a year, was going for about $500 because it's MJF. But the thing is, this is what I've tried to do with the AEW license is basically Upper Deck is making those sets like they do for hockey. So unless you've ripped hockey from Upper Deck before, not a lot of people are familiar with these sets. So what I try to do is been trying to educate wrestling fans on what to look for in these Upper Deck sets, because the fact that they're doing these exact same sets in hockey. So, and it's been the same thing with Skybox Hockey. It's all about the PMGs and the autos in Skybox. So if Mrs. Pondwater's going for Skybox, look for the PMGs in Skybox. They come to about there. It's a 16 box case. It's about 4 to 5 a case in PMGs. But like when Skybox comes out this summer, I will rip it, and I will rip it solely because I'm going to go PMG hunting.
You know, you say Skybox. And back in one of those cabinets I have Skybox PGA Tour cards.
Yes.
And I mean, they're either late 80s, early 90s. Yeah,
Upper Deck still has the PGA license right now. I think Fanatics got Live, but I know they still have the PGA license. So they do a multi-sport Skybox Metal because Upper Deck still has the license for Michael Jordan autographs. So they'll put MJ autographs in Skybox or whatever. They are insanely hard, if not impossible to hit. But they'll do golf in multi-sport Skybox, and then AEW got its own Skybox in 22. I ripped a ton of that. I did a bunch of breaks of it. It just comes down for the AEW fans. It's knowing what to look for in these sets.
Man, because they treat it like hockey. Those cards is addictive.
Yeah.
It's a rush.
Yeah. I think next time, Pondwater, I think we should do Ask Brandon anything about cards. Be very specific to our fans, because like I said, they have some really good questions. You know,
if there's one more good one, Dave, throw it up there. I'm not. If you guys are not under time constraints, I'm not under time constraints. I'll answer.
Other than my dog's going nuts in there.
What was the Apex collection like in the 80s? Why did baseball cards and others fail? And how can people be confident there will not be another bust? Okay, Darren. So I don't think we've hit the apex of collection now. It is, once again, as I said earlier, it is a different ball game now than when it was when we were kids and when our parents were kids, because of the way the cards are designed, the way they are geared with autographs and all of that, and game used relics in there. I don't think we've hit the apex with it. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we have, and I don't think we will, because collecting is like investing now. It really is. I mean, I could tell you, I mean, I get insurance on my wrestling card collection because my collection is worth that much.
Sure.
And yeah, it may go up and down and vary here or there, but it's not going to tank like it's not going to tank like we had that junk wax era where prices, it just fell flat in the 90s. We'll never go back to that again, in my opinion, solely because it's treated as an investment vehicle now. You can retire off of sports cards if you pull the right one. I mean, you know, or you amass a large enough collection, you know, you can use it as a vehicle for retirement, you know, like this card right here, like this Rock Auto. So let's say in theory, let's say I buy this for $2,500 and then I grade it, and that'll add exponentials in value to it. So if I graded it and I got it at 2,500, it came back a PSA 9. Now you're looking 5,000 or so, roughly, probably. PSA 10, probably close to $7,000, $7,500. Over time, cards like this are only going to gain value over time, even if he signs more, because this is the first one from the first set on the license. So you have to take that into account when you're collecting. If you're collecting as an investment vehicle, if you're collecting to have fun, great. You know what I mean? It changes your outlook to it. But you know, I do both. I collect because I want to, and I love it. You know, and there are some cards I will chase solely because I know there will be a financial gain in the long run on it. You know what I mean? I'm taking, it's like any other form of investment, stock or bond in the stock market. You don't know how it's going to hand out, but it's not going to fall flat on its face like it did in the 90s. The hobby is, there's too much money now in the hobby and in sports cards. Like I have behind me on my wall, I have 3 Joe Burrow rookie cards. 2 of them are autoed. One's an auto relic, one's an auto, and one's a parallel card that I hope in 10 years are going to be worth my house. You know, if they're not, I've still made money on them because I bought strategically at a point where it was cheaper, you know, and I bought strategically for it. And I also believe, I'm from Cincinnati, I believe Joe Burrow will win a Super Bowl one day. You know, but he may not. I may be wrong. But we have not hit the apex of collecting, nor do I think we will hit an apex of collecting. Fanatics with them pretty much trying to take over every major license and everything. They are creating this market now, where you're bringing in more collectors than ever, newer collectors than ever, whether it's families, you name it. Like, it's such a broad, diverse coalition here to where we're never going to have a bottom like that again, in my opinion. It would take essentially the collapse of our financial industry, of our financial market as a whole, like thinking nationally globally for a minute, to cause it to happen. You know, because in some ways getting into the hobby is cheap. You know, you have people that have the disposable income that will spend a lot of money. Trust me, I see it. You know what I mean? But you have people that will do it for fun. And, you know, I'll leave you with this last story, and it's not wrestling related, but this kind of echoes my point. The last couple of months I was working at the card shop full time. So this is probably about 1.5 years ago, or would have sort of been late 23. It was on a Sunday morning. A mom, dad, and their son came in after church and bought a box of Allen and Ginter baseball cards. It was probably $110 for the box. They just wanted to rip something. Like mom didn't really understand it, was trying to learn it. Dad and son did it together. You know, they're trying to make it a family thing. They pulled it was a booklet. So it folds out wide, a booklet, dual auto, dual relic of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, numbered to 10. That box had been on the shelf for probably 4 months because I counted it every week. Mom and dad came up to me and asked, okay, how much is this card worth? And I said, okay, well, let me take a look. I looked online on eBay, kind of comped it out a little bit, as we say, for comp pricing. And I told him, I said, I'd be conservative. This card's probably worth $1,500 out of a $110 box. They weren't shooting for it, but it happens, you know? But it's stuff like that where this hobby now is it's becoming a family thing. Is, you know, gearing towards kid. I see more kids collecting now, seriously collecting, you know, and also looking at it as an investment vehicle to make money, you know, like the hobby has been legitimized as a investment art, as an investment vehicle, and as an investment art form. So it's not all just now about collecting. You can, if you want, you don't have to look at it that way. You don't have to spend the money to it. I always say, collect what you want, collect what you like, invest as much as you're willing or wanting to. There's no right or wrong answer with this in any way, shape, or form, but it'll never go back to the way it was in the 90s, where it was borderline dead. You know, it'll never go that way again.
I remember in the 70s getting them with, like I said, I'd get the baseball cards with that stiff piece of bubble gum in there.
Yeah, well, there's still those stiff pieces of bubble gum still exist. I mean, I ripped a box for Conrad. I ripped a box of the 1985 OPC WWF. So it was a French variation of the 85s, and I was going Hogan hunting. It was the top of the card video, and there were gum in every one of those packs that I ripped, and it actually ruined some of those cards. Like you couldn't get it off the cards, but it was not the best. And someone told me, they're like, you should try a piece of that. I said, I do not want to get sick. I do not recommend that anyone eats those 30 and 40-year-old pieces of gum ever under any circumstances. So yeah, it'll never go back to the way it was. I'm fortunate enough that I'm at a point now where if you'd have told me this is life after television, after being on TV for 5+ years and doing it almost full time for 20 years, that I'd be doing this, no way. I love it. You know, I'm by no means done in the ring. I was in OVW last week, working for Harley Race's old company on March 8th, WLW World League. It's an NWA promotion now. So I'm still in the ring. Like my phone is always on. I will hear and listen to anything. But cards and collecting, and it still keeps me around the business, I mean, we were all together a few weeks ago in Huntsville. It's a nice line of work to have now. And I'm eternally grateful for it. I enjoy it every day.
Well, we appreciate you coming on with us tonight, and we would like to have you back.
Absolutely. Tell me when.
Because I wasn't through talking about referee stuff, and Amy.
Yeah, we barely touched in ring stuff. We didn't talk a whole lot about.
Amy was in a hurry to get to those cards.
Well, I told you, I had several questions for Brandon at Top Guy Tussle. I have another question, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait, or I'll text them or whatever, because I'm just there's just so many. It's so
cool. What?
Let's do chat this. There. Willie Buck. Well, he said we don't have. We'll go a few more minutes because my wife's home now. She got the dog out of the cage.
Yeah.
Brandon Tolle wants to know about Eddie Guerrero wrestling cards.
So they still make cards of Eddie nowadays, just because he has a Legends license, so they can. So, so there's still Eddie cards out there. Obviously, no autographs. The big Chase Eddie card that exists is from the 1998 Topps WCW Monday Nitro set. They had a lot of those guys signed, a lot of the WCW guys signed autos in that set. So like Sting obviously did as well. A lot of those guys signed for that. So that's the real Eddie Chase card, is that 98 Monday Nitro set, which I actually have a sealed box right here. We're going to rip for top of the card one of these days.
Okay. So now I got to ask my question, because where do you find these boxes that are not open, like 1989 or what do you say? 1998 WCW, like a box, like you're going to rip open. Like, how do you even find those not touched, not opened? I guess it's like, where do they, like the ones you did for Conrad? There are
people that have a lot of willpower, and that just store them for years.
Really?
You know, yeah. eBay is normally a good way. I mean, that's where I found that box. The box in '91 Classic WWF. We're gonna rip for top of the card. Me and Conrad. I actually found that on eBay.
Really?
I've been looking for a box of that for probably a good solid year now, because I want to do a proper let's go Taker rookie hunting. But I just couldn't find one. So I found one, talked with Conrad about it. I said, hey, let's do this. And so, you know, here we go. So we got it, and we're gonna rip it for top of the card. So a lot of that is eBay. They're in the truck of a Corvette found in a barn. You know what? I'll tell you the weirdest place I ever found a box of cards. I was in a card chat with a guy that I knew who's up in Boston. And this is during the pandemic. And he had it was the Cardinal trivia game set from 1998 WWE or WWF. And he had it. It had been in his parents' attic for 20 years. It was the complete set, the complete game set. Because up until 98 there was probably a good 6-7 year gap where there wasn't any trading cards. So that 98 trivia card set is known for having the Rock's unofficial rookie wrestling card in it.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I did a deal with a guy who sold it to me for probably a third of what it was worth at the time, just because he knew me, he knew I was looking for it, and he needed some money to get over the top to buy a new grill for him and his family at his new house. So, and he's up in Boston, so I bought it from him, and he shipped it down to me, and I took the Rock card out of it and got it graded. All told, this was at the very beginning of the pandemic, early summer 2020. Yep, exactly. Johnny Martello is right on that. Yeah. And I know for a fact that
didn't Fitterman keep them from signing certain cards?
It's up to the talent as if they don't want to or not. So like Hogan, I have heard is not willing to sign his 85 stuff anymore.
Why?
Don't know. That's totally a talent level decision as far as I know. I don't know that Fitterman actually restricts it. Why would you restrict it? You know, if it's a way to make money, you know what I mean? For those who,
well, I'd seen that Flair wasn't allowed to sign the 82 cards anymore.
Yeah, I have no idea
or
why.
Maybe he just didn't want to, and he blames on Fitterman.
Yeah, mate, I don't know.
I've seen it printed, but I've actually seen it printed on instructions on one of his appearances.
Yeah, I've eventually got to get one of the 82s. They're just hard to get at this point. Like, it's one of the few ones I don't have. But that Rock card, I got it graded. It got a 9.5 out of 10 overall. I was into it for about $550, and I sold it for $2,500 a month later after I got it during the pandemic. So
did the pandemic make, I mean, I got to imagine the pandemic just made it really easy because everybody was bored. I know we bought so much stuff from High Spots. I mean, anybody that has disposable income on eBay, or we went nuts during the pandemic. Yeah, with people having more disposable income than ever at the pandemic, you know, I was not one of those people because I was trying to keep my business afloat. Because, you know, I went from being on the road so much, and wrestling was a big part of my income, but I don't get in the ring, I don't get paid, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So I was in kind of the reverse where I was just trying to keep the wheels going during the pandemic. But yeah, a lot of that, people having disposable income from a card standpoint, we were already getting there prior to that, because prior to the pandemic in 18 and 19, the hedge funds on Wall Street were buying graded vintage baseball cards as part of their overall portfolio. Like, you know, as part of their overall, you know, investment portfolio. And it was legitimizing trading cards. They were buying the mantles, like the mantles and the Jackie Robinsons, like those ones. But they were basically legitimizing it because if you looked at the rate of return on those cards over the long term, the rate of return on those cards were higher than what the S&P 500 was giving you, you know, over the same time frame. And so they started buying those cards, realizing they can make more off of that versus buying more stocks. You know, they're just diversifying their portfolio. And that's kind of what legitimized trading cards or sports cards in general as an actual investment vehicle.
Interesting.
Because if you hold something long enough, based on supply and demand or whatever I mean, I can't tell you how many people, during the pandemic or afterwards when I was working in the shop would come in with stuff and they would come in with older cards and thought they'd hit the lottery. There were a couple cases where I turned people away and said, you need to get these professionally graded, because what they were handing me were 55, 56, 1957. They were handing me some of those older 50s stuff and they were wanting to sell them. And I was like, you don't want to sell these yet. You need to get these graded. Like you can, like the value of these could be in some cases many exponentials over if you get these graded. And I pointed him in the right direction of how to get them graded, who to talk to, that sort of thing, and do right by them, because that's their investment. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not take advantage of them. But at the same point, for those conversations, I also had the conversations of people coming in with 1990 score, that wasn't worth anything and thought they'd hit the lottery, and be like, yeah, those are better to go start a fire with. Like, we still have sealed boxes of them over on that shelf over there for $10, like sealed since 1990. Sorry, tough conversation to have. It sucks to have that conversation, but it's the nature of what it is. But yeah, it's a legitimate, investment vehicle. Like, I won't tell you, how much I have in my investment is worth, but I can tell you, it's enough to where I have a yearly insurance policy, for just my sports cards. So if something happens to my house, I can get full market value of what my cards are. I have spreadsheets that detail, like, if they're graded, the certification numbers. Like, I treat it as such, though. You know what I mean? And that's my choice. I could just, could just open cards for the sake of opening it. I'd love it just as much. You know what I mean? But I do this enough already as it is. Then, you know what I mean? I say to my wife, you can invest your money in the stock market. I'll invest my money in sports cards, and we'll see who gets there first. And that's how much I believe in this industry in the long term too, is I've made it my career of choice.
Well, we got to have you back on here.
Yes, 100%.
This has been so much fun.
You know what? I would like to do this, and this is something, and I can make this decision, I think, for top of the card, because it's just me, 9 times out of 10. When we did the one at Top Guy Rumble, that was the first time I had anybody sitting with me while we were doing it. It was with me and Conrad. So it's normally just me here in the studio doing it. I want to do a Q&A for, to try to answer these type of questions for top of the card. So I may ask you both to kind of come on, and we can have a little kind of, ask the ref / top of card Q&A, and have you guys kind of, lead with me.
I'll be asking all the card questions, because I've heard enough of reffing out of pond water. We ain't got no questions. No.
Well, we have all of it. We still need to hear about why you didn't bump in every match at Top Guy Rumble, for the record.
I think it was Bill Barron's fault. Bill Barron's was doing like, is he going to recover? No, we're going to kill that son of a bitch. We're going to put him out on a cart. And I believe that if Bill Barron's wouldn't have been there, Conrad would have figured out how to make me bump in every. Yeah, it was fun.
That was hilarious.
I wish there was some video, because in my mind, the Rocky fall was perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
I bet there's somebody has some video out there. I bet.
We can't do video of that. No. If you guys, and I'm not trying to shill for ad free, but I'm going to for this case. If you want to see stuff like what we're talking about, join up, become a top guy over at patreon.com/adfreeshows. You get access to the top of the card and everything under the sun, under the ad-free family, for one price on a monthly basis, along with the community and the camaraderie. I see it firsthand, because I'm also, I'm a My Push guy. I've been a subscriber since day one of ad free. I'm just a My Push, not a top guy. And I subscribe.
Then why are we talking to you? No,
she's a snob.
I've tried to tell him that.
Hey, Amy,
I'm a creator for him. I still can't get top guy. I still can't get top guy access.
Amy and Megan do women's night at the matches. I host top guy events and watch-alongs, and I've been in there with. I get to log in with Jeff Jarrett every now and then, and how great is that?
Yep.
Jeff
I've been in with Eric Bischoff. I've been in with I mean, the opportunities that that have been presented to me because
We
of
got to
ad-free
train with
shows.
Jerry Lynn and Dr. Tom. I mean,
Okay.
so
So I'm going to talk the first Top Guy Rumble.
mhm.
I say this to people, and I say this, and this is because this is another one of those moments. We were sitting around, and they were doing the booking thing, but at
Mhm.
that table, it was Eric Bischoff, Jeff Jarrett, Ricky Morton, and Kevin Sullivan at one table booking the territory.
Mhm.
I sat in the back and I listened to myself, and I've done this for 20 years. I was just like, where am I going to hear a collection of over 100 years, almost 200 years worth of wrestling experience between these guys at one time, literally talking to these people about how to book the territory,
Mhm.
like
100%.
it's experiences that you will not find anywhere else. And Kevin's no longer with us, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Kevin. Like, those are moments that even me, as someone who's been doing this for 20 years, I sat back there and just listened. I just crossed my arms.
It
and
was
just
ears open, mouth shut.
yeah.
Mhm.
It was amazing. And even as someone who's been doing this for 20 years, I still listen. And I think for me, that's one of the draws to the podcast, is because it feels like I'm on the road. I'm on the road with these guys, whether it's Tony or Bruce before Bruce took his hiatus, and now with JBL or whoever it may be. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're just on the road. Like, it feels like I'm making the next town. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here just BSing, shooting the wind, hearing all the stories while we're on the road to the next town. But yeah, it's a great experience. So we may have to do this for under the ad-free banner for you guys for top of the card, and do kind of a Q&A.
And the next time we do this, I'll use Zoom instead of StreamYard, and we'll invite our listeners to participate that way.
Absolutely.
Rather than them typing it out, we'll actually let them ask.
Absolutely. I'm all for hearing it. We, almost like an antique road show, except for trading cards, right?
I'm going to ask you one referee question before we sign off.
Let's do it.
Have you found yourself ever, I'm trying to think how to word it, because I tell everybody when they ask me about refereeing, and I say work, don't watch. What's that one talent that you've been in the ring with that it's so hard to work and not watch?
And you got me thinking on this one. I don't know. I'm gonna have to revisit that and really think about that, because especially with doing TV, like when you have so many moving parts, there's not time to really have that moment. You know what I mean?
Is there anybody that's like that you were in there with, and you were like, oh my God, having to talk yourself down from fanboying? Because like at Top Guy, when I was in there with Ricky Morton, I mean, I'm in there with Ricky Morton.
I think for me, it was more moments, more all-encompassing moments, like days where I had those, where I would say I'd question, like, am I really here doing this, more so than matches? I was fortunate enough, we talked about this, I was fortunate enough to work Madison Square Garden, or the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden in 2019 for AAA while I was with TNA. Doing stuff like that, or doing like Rick's retirement show. Like, for me, it's moments. It's all encompassing moments. Like, I make no bones about it. Like, during the main event at Rick's retirement match, I went out in the crowd for half of it and watched. I sat and watched like a fan, because I've seen Flair wrestle at Madison Square Garden, in his last run with WWE. Like, I've seen him in those venues, like, I wanted to go out and experience it just like the fans, you know what I mean? So there's moments like that, like buildings and stuff like that, that is where it really kind of hits me, because I've been to show, like I said, I've been to the Garden as a fan. Now here I am, and that was in 2008. Now 11 years later, I'm coming back, and I'm looking at a locker room at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden that has my name on it, with all the other Impact guys that were all on that show. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm flying into New York, walking up to the Garden. Like, am I really doing this? And I'm doing this as someone that's never been under contract to WWE. Like, you know what I mean? It's that sort of stuff is where it's got me. I look at, like, I've been able to travel the world and see some of the most beautiful parts of the world because of professional wrestling. Professional wrestling has given me the life that I have now. Wrestling owed me nothing. And I am eternally grateful for the course of events that I've gone on and the moments that I have gone on. And that's something that now that I'm not doing television full time anymore, it's something that I really look at, and I look at with even more fondness because of the fact that I've been able to have such a plethora, a blessing of moments over the years. For a kid that was born 6 weeks premature, they didn't think I'd survive, who was a runt, who never played sports, who was who has a degree in music, who was always the loner because nobody liked the music kid, that has gotten to travel around the world into multiple countries and see some of the most beautiful parts of this world and work on some of the biggest platforms in our business, like the Garden and like Rick's retirement show. How I got to do that, I still don't understand it to this day. And I'm very lucky that I've got to do it. So for me, it's moments more so than things than I think talent per se.
And when you were explaining all that, I realized that I hang on to my mistakes in the ring way too long, because the questions I ask you, like for me, it was Steve Anthony. And he looked at me during the match. He goes, "I challenge you to work with me." And I've never, but I mean, that was the learning moment, and he was cool with me afterwards. It's just, but that, I guess I hang on to it too. When the times that I've messed up in the ring, I tend to remember those more than the times that I haven't.
I can understand that. And I'm not perfect. I've made my fair share of mistakes. Trust me. Lord knows I've made my fair share of mistakes, and it took some slaps in the head to learn. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you're committed to learning and committed to figuring out how to get better. And I had to go through some growing pains, man, like especially when I was on TV, because the only way to learn TV is to do it. So you're learning as you are learning as you go. And trust me, there are some people that have gray hairs because of me and the mistakes that I made, but some of those people I have good relationships with to this day, because I always showed I was willing to try to figure out how to get better. I may not have been the quickest at it. I may have said, "I don't understand how to, can you help me?" and help me find the tools to try to be better at it. But I always wanted to go into every day and be better than the last day, And so every time every time I go out, I try to go out and be better than that last time. It may be months in between those times out, but every night out is still an opportunity, and there's always a way to get better. So, I hope that my TV career is not done. I don't think it is. I mean, I'm 39. I've got a lot left in the tank. I'm in the better shape now than I was 10 years ago. It's a learning outlet every time out of the gate. And there's always, I'll tell you this, at Flair's retirement show, I was picking Kyoto's brain the entire time. Like, I'd been doing TV for 5 years at that point, but I was like, he's forgotten more about TV than I know. Like, so I told him, I was like, "Can you watch? Can I get some feedback?" And he was like, "Absolutely." And then after my first match, I had the tag opener with Davey and Eddie and Shelly and Sabin. And I go back and I sit down with Kyoto, and Kyoto was beyond gracious enough to take the time out and talk, and got some feedback from him. Got a lot of positive, got some constructive criticism along with it. You know what I mean? These guys have forgotten more than I will ever know. I just got fortunate enough to be able to do 5 years on television, after doing it for, 15 years. I mean, it took me to my 30s, like, to get there. And, I'm grateful for every minute of it. TNA took a chance on me when nobody else would. And I am grateful for every moment of it that I got to do it for. And I got to do it, I got to do it with some of the best in the business at that point. So eternally grateful for it.
I tell everybody I've never it's never lost on me the privilege it is to get to climb in that ring.
Yes.
And I
echo
almost
that.
get really annoyed when when a promoter lets kids in the ring, because I'm like, it took me 39 years to get him one.
I get it. I tried. I was that kid.
I get it's
Before I got in the business, I would go to the county fair when my grandma's in West Virginia, and they had like a boxing ring that was basically a wrestling ring. You know what I mean? And try to bump around. Like, I get it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I would have chopped my little brother's ear off to get in the wrestling ring.
Oh, poor Ike.
I was the one
It is
playing
what
with
it
wrestling
is.
buddies as a kid. What are you talking about?
But y'all go find at Ref Brandon Tolle, Tolle, at Ref Brandon Tolle, Tolle, on the X Gimmick. It's got a link in his bio to Midwest Box Breaks.
Yep.
You can catch him on Adfreeshows. Reach out to him. Ask. He'll answer you. He's very engaging. Brandon, thank you so much for your time tonight. I did not plan on keeping you this long.
That's okay. It's all good. I'm all for it. So
I've had a great time and can't wait to have you back.
Absolutely. Anytime. I take it as an opportunity. Like we just said, I take it as an opportunity, especially I'm one of the few people that has the platform of any type that is in the business that does the cards. So I want to try to be an ambassador and try to bring both of these hobbies and loves that I have together, and also to help educate, because, if we can educate our collectors, answer these questions, it makes everyone smarter. It makes better collectors, make better decisions, and it just grows the hobby, and we can have maybe one day the hobby can be as big as we have for wrestling fans in general, for those who go to shows. So, I'm all for trying to help grow what we're doing, and on either side, whether it's in the ring or out of the ring.
Well, when you're ready for me and Amy to come on top of the card, let us know. We'll be there.
Absolutely. We'll talk. I'll figure out a date and we'll do it. I've been wanting to do a Q&A, but it's just hard to do it by myself. So since we can sit here and talk, I'll figure it out, and I'll get with you guys. We'll figure it out. We'll do it.
Sounds good.
Guys.
If you're in the Taylorsville, Mississippi area, I'll be with Lost Art of Wrestling Friday night in Taylorsville, and then Saturday night in Brookhaven, Mississippi, BIW. Our champion, Caleb Conley, will be there defending the title against Danny Chance. It's going to be and on Lost Art, we have Vladimir Koloff and going against the Riles brothers, but I can't remember who's with Koloff.
Tell Vladdy Daddy I said hello.
Yeah, I'll let him know. But for Amy Vaughn, we want to thank Brandon for being here. I'm Palm Water Dave, and we will see you next week. I'm talking wrestling with Palm Water and Amy.